I couldn't find anyone who could make the specific things I really wanted. So I just kind of slowly built up the knowledge, and nowadays I've made most of the things that I really wanted back when I initially began, and obviously I keep having new ideas of things I want. Like idea making is definitely not a problem I have. I usually can't keep up with my own ideas. I have a lot of projects that I want to work on, and as well as like uh, making them is not fast enough to keep up with that.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, your host, Nepherti. You are here for episode 59. We've been doing this for quite a while, so I really do appreciate your continued support, both on YouTube as well as on Twitch. And before we get started with talking with tonight's guest, I do want to thank also not just people who are watching this live and those of you who may be watching this on YouTube, but I also want to thank people who are supporting me over at Patreon. Basically, all of my videos get demonetized largely because of YouTube's DMCA policies. So basically, I don't really earn very much from the YouTube side. So this is very much a labor of love, but thanks to many people who have been supporting me on Patreon, including my Snuggle and Uwu tier people. Thank you very much for helping me out there. I really do appreciate that so much. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that. I just want to give a quick thanks to those of you who are at Patreon. I'll be talking about that at the end of tonight's podcast if you're interested in helping me out over there. But in the meantime, we will move on from that and get into what you are here for, our discussion, our chit chat with our guest tonight, Lindy, who is here with us tonight to have a
Very
great
jump scare.
That is, for some it might be, but I think you're pretty well known enough that many people wouldn't be jump scared. I think they are very familiar with what you look like and your identity and stuff. And that's pretty cool. I think it's awesome to be so widely regarded. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Lindy. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have two cats accompanying me. One sitting on my lap here, and one sitting right here.
All right, hell yeah. Always good to be comfy. But yeah, so I do like to kind of hit people with a little bit of an icebreaker. We haven't really chit-chatted aside from our conversations with just kind of setting things up and everything. But I really do like what you do. I've seen what you've done. Your creative work is really, really cool. Very, very interesting stuff, and that's really why I wanted to talk with you. I find the work that you do to be very, very engaging and very widely regarded by a lot of people. So honestly,
thank you.
Yeah. For me, it's very much a pleasure and an honor to be able to chat with somebody like yourself. And you may not, think of yourself so highly. I think most creators are very just kind of like, I just do cool things and make cool stuff. But I always appreciate, creators coming on and willing to talk about their craft with me, as well as who they are.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
I try to be humble about it.
Yeah.
I don't.
I agree. Yeah, as a content creator myself, I definitely understand the need to remain humble and not let the notoriety, get to your head. For sure. So I do like to start. Yeah. So I do like to start things off with just kind of asking very kind of general questions about my guest. So if you had to describe yourself to someone who didn't know who you were, how would you describe who Lindy is? And honestly, I have I been saying your name correctly this entire time? I actually don't know. I'm saying
Yes.
it right? Okay,
no,
cool.
You're saying it correct.
Okay. Great.
It's a lot of people do get it wrong, especially the spelling part. So it's always interesting to see how people manage to misspell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The double I's are definitely pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Describing myself, do you mean like to another VRChat player, for example?
Yeah, I would say to another VRChat player for sure.
Um, hmm. I'm just kind of a guy who kind of took a passion to making stuff. Initially, just wanted to make stuff for myself. Um, but I've since branched out when I was comfortable with what I made to like, make stuff so others could have it as well. And you know, uh, I guess you could just describe me as a guy who makes cool stuff that you could put on your avatar and show off to your friends and like weapons, gadgets, fishing rods, coins you can flip and all that. I'm people kind of describe me as the weapon stealer or something like that because I guess that's kind of what I am. I'm equipping everyone with cool weapons in VRChat. Especially role players. Role players really like my stuff, which I think is very cool. I recently got into some role-playing groups, which has been very interesting. I haven't really done something like that before. But it's always fun to meet people.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, it's always really nice to like meet, creators like yourself as well. I think that's really awesome. Like the fact that like a lot of what you make is very role play oriented. It really fits in with that crowd really well, and it's awesome that you're participating with that as well. So, yeah, I mean, you really are kind of like a weapons dealer of sorts, because a lot of what you do is very very kind of based around a lot of like cool weapons, guns, knives, swords, even like different systems and stuff, which is super super cool. So yeah, it's super super nice. So before you got into doing assets and creative stuff, what were you doing before then? What were you up to? Like what were you doing like before that?
On VR?
Well, even like before like VR, like even like outside of VR.
Even before then?
Yeah.
I mean, I have an education within robot automation, which I would love to say like skills transferred over, but I don't know, honestly. I could have easily done all the stuff I do without any of the education I have. I've barely used it. I've always kind of been the type of person who's been striving to create my own work, rather than going out searching for a job, as cliche as that kind of sounds. When I picked my education, it was more like, which thing would I hate the least type deal. And I kind of wanted to just get through it so I could get out of school, and it's not always been fully accepted by some of my family. Nowadays it's much more, because now I'm doing really good, so now they like it. But initially when I started doing my own things, and also before VRChat, parents weren't always super supportive about it, which definitely was hard sometimes. It's not like necessarily easy to be like, hey mom, I don't want to have a normal job, because well, how do you live off of just making stuff online? And I mean, nowadays there's a lot of tools, and not necessarily all parents really understand the economy of what you can do online as jobs. A lot of people don't see them as real jobs. Sometimes I think a funny example is last year I was traveling to Vegas to visit my uncle, and when you go through the checkpoints and stuff, the guys were like asking, so like, what do you do as a job? And I'm like, just kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it, honestly. And I kind of just gave a small rundown explanation, and they're like, oh, so jobless. And I'm like, oh,
Jeez.
I'm just,
Yikes.
it
Yeah.
kind of like feeling like, oh, you don't have a real job type of deal, and it's kind of like always kind of like that with a lot of content creators. It's a lot of the modern world don't see it as real jobs, but like currently I'm doing really well for myself. That's like I have all my sales numbers are public, so it's no secret that I'm definitely in the top tier of sales. I'm doing really well for myself, and I don't hide it. And like I probably earn more than your parents do. So like, but even then, I guess it's not enough for some people. But I don't necessarily need their approval. I just love doing what I do. I'm
Mm.
happy to be able to make fun stuff all the time. I mean, like all the stuff I make is stuff I would use myself, and I'm just happy other people also want to spend money on it and allow me to continue doing it as a living. So that's nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's really important to be able to like. Obviously, I think just like with streamers, like I think people feel the enthusiasm from streamers when they're having fun on stream, and very similarly, when you're making things that you would use yourself and that you would enjoy using, I think people can feel that
Mm.
enthusiasm as well. Like when, like this is something that has actual utility, and that is actually fun to play with and fun to use. And I think a lot of your work really embodies that aspect of, like, this is really cool. I think it's cool. You will probably think it's cool too, type of thing. So I think that's really really awesome.
Yeah, it kind of runs back to the way I started is, um, I wanted cool specific stuff for my own art, and I really couldn't find anyone who could make the stuff I wanted, because the stuff I wanted was more on the technical side, and it's very hard to find people who do commissions and know the technical aspects of avatar creation that's outside of just simple toggles. So I just kind of took the leap and started learning, and eventually, I thought maybe other people than me would be interested in some stuff I make, and yeah, it turns out they were, which is very nice. I'm very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, a lot of my ideas really is just like, I think that'd be really cool to use for myself. I want that. I mean, I think a good example is when I went to see the Wolverine and Deadpool movie in the theaters, um, and you see Gambit do his card tricks and stuff, and I'm like, I want that on my avatar, and I mean, I made it. So
Yeah, yeah. You just did it. So there it is. There
yeah,
it
and
is.
I mean, sometimes, you know, cool stuff I want on my avatar, other people would also like. So it just kind of naturally fits. Like I get to make really cool stuff that I would have made probably without also selling it because I just wanted. But now I have the advantage of also being able to earn a pretty good amount of money from it. So, and I get to work with a lot of people. A lot of the stuff I make is like very rarely a one-man thing. I mean, like I don't do any 3D modeling myself. All the models I use are usually custom commissioned for the stuff I do. I'm usually on the technical side, the Unity aspect. All the animations, the logic behind it, the sound effects, the particles. That's usually the stuff I do. But I have a lot of talented modelers I work with. A lot of repeat people who are really good at what they do, and I'm so grateful to have them make stuff, and I of course pay them good and give them a collaborator share and all that.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah, hell yeah. So we'll definitely talk more in detail about the stuff that you've made. There are a couple of things I wanted to run by you in terms of like what you've made over the course of your time being an asset creator. So we'll definitely get into that later on in the podcast for sure. But back to like just you as a person. I always like to ask people, like, the identity is very important in VRChat, and how you present yourself to people, I think, is very much kind of, I think in any game or any platform, people's perspective and how people look at you and how you feel about yourself is very, very integral to just interacting and functioning in a space. So I'm curious to, like, how did you kind of land on this particular look and feel for your appearance in VRChat?
I chose the Hyaenid by Alper very early on when I started playing VR. Uh, initially I knew I was gonna lean on the furry side because I don't know, it's always interested me. Before VRChat, I was barely in the furry community, more like just interested. Um, and there was a public high-ended avatar that was very customizable, and I just wore that for a long time before I knew anything about avatar creation. And eventually I did want my own. And initially I wanted to commission uh, a look for it with some custom clothes. That commission was like it never got through. Like the guy was way too busy, and I literally got too tired of waiting. So tired that I literally bought Substance Painter and started just painting without a tutorial and trying to figure it out. I should have looked up a tutorial, absolutely. A lot of my early creation was really trial and error, very painful. I don't recommend it. Look up stuff or have a friend help you. But the color scheme for my avatar, the white part was inspired by another texture for the yin that you could buy on Gumroad. It was white, it had a lot of rainbowy colors. And I really liked the white color scheme with some bright colors. The colors themselves are inspired by the bisexual flag. My eyes kind of reflect the pattern of that. The pattern on my stomach and on my back are both from the game Outer Wilds, which is my favorite game ever. You should play it, it's really good. It's kind of supposed to evoke the kind of space theme, because I really like space. But this texture I made is more or less kind of the first texture I've ever made. Well, no, I made some before that. It might have been like more like the fifth actually. But it is definitely the best one I've made. I don't know if I can ever top it again. I'm really proud of how it turned out. I've gotten a fair amount of compliments on how it looks, which makes me very happy and very confident in wearing it.
Yeah, I mean your look and design are very much. I haven't seen anything quite like it. It's very much unique to you, and I think that's really like it's part of the process of becoming well acquainted with people or being well acquainted in the VR space or the VR chat space. Having a very like distinct look is kind of like
Yeah. Also, this isn't a fully default high-ended model. This is slightly edited. I used to wear default high-ended, but this version is a little bit more muscular, kind of bigger frame, and that was done by my friend Metal God, who is very very talented modeler, and it was initially his idea to do it because I had some art of my character, and he kind of like brought up like, oh, this kind of muscular. What if I took the avatar and kind of remolded it a little bit? I was like, yeah, sure, give it a try. And initially I was kind of like, this is interesting. I don't know if I like it or will wear it. And then I haven't stopped wearing it, so I really like it. And it's just like it's not like too different from the default unit, but it's different enough that it has a unique look, and I like it a lot. So very happy with that. Very thankful for him doing this edit for me.
Nice. And the designs like on your stomach, is that also space related or like sci-fi related?
So like I mentioned before, so this symbol here is it's a symbol from the game Outer Wilds, which is a space exploration game. And that's kind of all I'll say because it's the type of game I don't want to spoil for you. You have to go play it to understand what it also is. Really, really recommend it. I am obsessed with it. I own all the music on vinyl and I own the art book and all that. It's the best game. So
Hell yeah.
that's more or less all I can say about that without spoiling it. Not to be confused with Outer Worlds. It is Outer Wilds. Common misconception.
Are they made by two different developers? I've heard of both games, I think,
Yes.
but I've often
Yes,
got
they are
confused.
ironically both space-themed games also.
Okay.
So I've heard the stories of people accidentally looking for one game and buying the other, which is always fun.
Gotcha. All right. And let me ask about your name. How did you land on the name Lindy?
I made the name Lindy when I started VRChat, which was like 3 to 4 years ago, I think. So I haven't always gone by Lindy, and I think the idea for it was I wanted kind of like not a masculine name, not a fully feminine name, kind of just like in between. And initially just kind of typed out some letters, and I landed a little bit on that, and then I just added an extra I to make it more unique. So that's really the only reason there's two I's. Mostly to ensure that I didn't accidentally copy someone else's name.
Okay.
Um,
I was gonna say, it's usually people who are like, people are usually not trying to copy someone else's name. They're usually trying to like create something. Like, I mean, you went for something very unique, but like that's a very interesting like direction to take in terms of just being very like, I'm just gonna beat everyone to the punch. Like, no one's gonna have this name or even think about it. I'm just gonna beat them to it, kind of thing. All right, cool. And I would like to ask a little bit more about like your kind of discovering being becoming a furry. You said when you weren't much of a furry before VRChat. I'm kind of curious as to kind of how that came about, and I guess how much is that I guess a part of you these days.
Well, before that, it was mostly just interest in the fandom, I guess. I had never really had any direct interactions, like I didn't really have any way to interact with it, I guess, like outside of just observing the community. But as I get into VRChat, it's really just you can, literally meet the furries. Like technically, it's like almost in person, right? We're like all kind of sitting in front of each other. So it kind of just speedran my indoctrination into furry fandom, and I immediately, could wear something that felt comfortable to be in. It's kind of like the thing, like I own a lot of different avatars, but I just never feel like myself in them. I've always just been Yin, and I feel weird in other avatars and all that. But yeah, otherwise, before VRChat, it was just really very mild interactions, and then the moment I hopped in VRChat, it was just, oh, this is pretty nice. There's a lot of really nice people here. Also, just generally, I feel like furries on VRChat are generally more approachable than other communities. That may just be my experience, but I don't know, a lot of people are really friendly. Yeah, and that's where I've met most of my friends as well.
So, I guess in regards to like having friends IRL versus friends in VR, what would you say like the majority of your friendships are? Are they largely in VR now, or they are still
Online.
IRL?
Oh,
Online?
by far online. I mean, I guess that's like kind of the downside of all my work being inside at the computer is I don't get out a lot. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm very what's it called? Not antisocial.
Introverted?
Yeah. I'm not good at approaching people, especially in real life. So most of my real life friends are friends I've known like way back. I don't have too many friends I've made in the last like, I don't know, 8 years or something. I haven't really met many people. I feel like nowadays it's very hard to meet new people in real life. I know. It's just kind of hard, especially as someone who's very introverted. I don't really like drinking, so I don't go to bars or anything like that. So, and I just do work on my computer. So my social life is absolutely mostly online. That's where I know all people. I guess that's kind of sad, but I'm having fun with it. So it'd be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're in good company, especially with myself. Like, I don't particularly like going out very much myself. I'm pretty much a homebody myself. As a, as a content creator, it's just better to just be online all the time. Whenever I have to go out into the real world, it's like I have to like flip a switch and like I have to turn a wheel that I haven't turned in a very long time, and it just feels kind of weird, and a little bit of that. Like, do you feel that that kind of like social pressure, IRL, to kind of like you have to kind of re-oil that wheel to kind of like figure out how to do that again?
Yeah, it's a bit different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. I've been having to do that like with like my taxes and shit lately, but yeah, totally feel that. But I do want to ask more about like is space an interest that you've had since you were younger? Has that always been an interest for you, or is that something that kind of came with your design and like your appearance in VRChat?
Um, I've always have a passive interest in space and stuff. Nothing like super significant. It's just space is cool and terrifying at the same time. Um, I, I feel like most of it comes from my love of the game Outer Wilds. I can't keep coming back to that. I could talk about it all day. Um, I don't know, it just fascinates me. I love movies like Interstellar, fantastic movie. I could watch that all day. Um, I don't know, there's just so many fascinating things about it. I feel like there's a lot of cool ways you can integrate the ideas of space into various designs. So whenever I can do that, I always do that. I mean, if you look really close to my eyes, there's like little stars in their back and all that. I just like putting little details like that. I just think it's really neat.
Cool. And with regards to your design and presentation and like your avatar design, you mentioned that you're bisexual. Did that kind of go into your design and your presentation, like that your appearance?
Yes. All the colors are just bisexual flag colors. The blue, purple, pinkish. Um, Generally because I find it a very, very nice color scheme, and I think it looks very good. So, just kind of conveniently fitted. I mean, even if I wasn't bisexual, I'd still pick this color scheme because it's just very pleasant, very nice, and it fits really well with just the white base color.
Okay. Are you often confused for a different gender in VRChat, or has that
Yes,
not even
very
been?
often.
Okay.
I'm not really bothered by it because like I know why. It's like, I mean, female-leaning avatar. I don't wear it because I have any gender confusion or anything. It's mostly just because I don't know. It's kind of. I would want to wear something that I find attractive, I guess, like something I find pleasant to look at. So that's kind of what I strive to. Well, to be fair, VRChat has a lack of male avatars in general, anyways. So most VRChaters would probably say the same, anyways. Like a lot of males would just wear female avatars, anyways. So I don't really hide my pronouns. I feel like it's pretty clearly displayed in a lot of places, but still, a lot of people would refer to me as she/her, even though that's not something I really put anywhere. But it doesn't bother me at all. I usually don't even correct people too much because I don't know. It's not something I really think about or care too much about. It's not really, big a deal to me.
And do you I know you said that the furry community has been very, very welcoming and very, very approachable. Were you at all struggling to like find a place, or did you kind of like fit into the furry community very quickly? Was that very easy for you to find like camaraderie with in the space?
Yeah, I would say like initially I started out like I was bored for it. I've never really like even when I started out, it was immediately find a furry avatar public somewhere and then wear it. And I was mostly surrounded by a variety of people initially, but just kind of slowly leaning more to the furry fandom. I still have a lot of friends who aren't like furry avatars and all that, but I guess that's just the community I like a little bit more. But I don't know. I don't really have any direct preference. Like, I'll hang out with anyone as long as you're a cool person, I guess. But my choice for public worlds is furry hideout. That's it.
That's
Otherwise, I
fair.
don't really go to publics.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, a lot of publics are very toxic, and especially where if you wear a furry avatar, people really like to call you many things if you aren't in a furry world by default. But that just comes with the game. Like, I'm not bothered by that. I just kind of find it funny. It's just how it is, really.
Okay. Well, let's talk about VRChat and like how this whole massive experiment that we all happen to be a part of is kind of plays into your own personal experiences and just how you've interfaced with this whole platform as a whole. I suppose we'll kind of start with a very kind of general question. Do you consider VRChat to be a game or a social platform?
Social platform. I mean, the only game part is really just game worlds, which I don't really go to too much myself. It's not really what I'm here for. I'm on VR to talk with friends and hang out and watch movies, and also work, I guess. I don't really. I'm not really here to like game in a sense. That some people are, like, a lot of people go to game worlds and like all that, but that's just like not at all what I do. So for me, it is absolutely a social platform, because that's what I'm here for. Yeah, and that's just the part I enjoy about it.
Okay.
Helps me improve my social anxiety a little bit, I guess. It's definitely gotten better over the years. Especially, I kind of have to, because when I kind of get recognized in almost every lobby I go into, so you know, I kind of have to get better at it, which I have. I do love meeting people. Like, I love having people come up to me like, love your stuff and all that, and I also really appreciate it. I feel like that's what I like the best part. Getting feedback, people talking about like how they like my stuff and they use it, and then especially when they show me the custom edits they've made, I'm always so wowed by it. Talking about their experiences and like showing off like, hey, I used it in this roleplay group and it's so cool, and I'm like, I don't know, it's super cool. I just love the idea of people enjoying the things I make. It's very rewarding to me.
And what is that like to be recognized so publicly, so widely? What is that like? I'm not quite at that point, so what is that like for you?
For the most part, it's pretty fun. Definitely meet a lot of people. I mean, it goes over. It kind of skips the part where I have to approach people to talk to someone, because usually I'll be the one who is approached by someone, which is good. For me, I don't. I really won't approach people unless they initialize something. So, I guess that's good. It's also helps with starting conversations, because there's always something to talk about then. But yeah, no, I've gotten used to it by now. I really enjoy it still. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I just like meeting fans. There's a lot of really nice people. Sometimes it can get a bit weird. Some people are less socially aware, and maybe approach in less convenient times, and maybe can't read the situation quite clearly. But I try to handle it as best as I can. There's a lot of very different people like from many places. So just gotta be aware of that sometimes.
Yeah. And also when how would you prefer someone to approach you? Actually, I think that's a pretty good question. Like, do you prefer someone to lead with like "I like your stuff" or like "Hi, my name is blah blah blah, nice to meet you," and just kind of maybe they don't even know who you are, kind of thing. Like, how would you how like I guess what ratio of positive interactions have you had with regards to people approaching you in general in VR chat?
Like 95% are definitely positive. Usually it'll mostly just be someone who uh, walks up to me and be like, "Hey, you're Lindy. I really like your stuff and all that." I feel like the awkward interactions is usually, which happens decently often. Someone will just like point at me, and and I'm kind of just sitting there like, what do I do now? Do I say something? Like, do you expect me to say something? Like, and then it just gets like a little bit awkward, and then they don't necessarily say anything, and maybe they'll like fly away, or maybe then they'll approach you. But it's you can just come up and say something that's much better instead of being a little awkward about it, I guess. Um, yeah, no, absolutely. Just walk up to me, say hi, ask for a picture or something. That's the fun part. Um,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think a lot of people would appreciate knowing like what's the best way, what's the the most natural way to approach. I think like I said, a lot of people in VR chat are very very different. It's a much different culture here. It attracts both very creative people and also very people who struggle with social anxiety in a lot of ways. How has VR chat helped you with your social anxiety? I know you mentioned that having to interact with people who recognize you has helped with that, but maybe there's more details behind that. Maybe there's a little bit more like with just VR chat as a whole. Like despite even outside of being a well-known asset creator, is there anything else that VR chat has done to help you with your anxiety?
I mean, initially when I started out in VRChat, I was not very talkative, that's for sure. Almost classified as a mute, I guess. Um, but over the time, I've definitely been more comfortable with my voice. I've always been kind of, my voice. I sound a lot younger than I am. I'm 29, just so people know.
That's hella
And like
young.
is it? Is that
Yeah,
young?
yeah, that's still
I'm gonna be
young.
30 at the end of the year. Um, but like before VRChat, I was kind of self-conscious like about my voice and all that. But I don't know. Nowadays, I don't really care about that anymore. Um, I've kind of gotten over that, I guess. There's bigger problems to think about than my voice, honestly. I have no problem talking anymore. Yeah, I don't know, just a gradual increase of confidence, I guess. I know it obviously helps that I get a lot of compliments all the time. Maybe right, ego boost, I guess. Um, I try not to, I try not to get it to my head. Obviously, I don't know, still, uh, just doing my thing sometimes, I guess. Um, I mean, even when I join publics, I just kind of sit for myself, uh, not necessarily doing too much. Um, but I've definitely gotten better at interacting with people in general. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to quantify, I guess. It's kind of hard to like self-reflect on like how I've gotten better because I don't know. I feel like that'd be better explained by someone who's known me throughout that all that time. Cause maybe I haven't really noticed all the changes myself. It's just kind of happened, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think it can be hard to reflect for some people, but I what matters is that there's been a positive effect from being in this space, and just you've had a very unique experience compared to the average player, of course. But social anxiety is social anxiety regardless of who you are. So it's really great that you've been able to really work with that and become a much better version of yourself that is preferable to you for sure. So, how did you first hear about VRChat? How did you first come in contact with the platform as a whole? How were you introduced to it?
I did actually try out VRChat back in I don't know, was it like 2017? Back when the Knuckles invasion happened, and I guess that's like my first like, oh, this thing exists experience. Hey, kitty. And I did try it out for like, I think like 4 hours, and then I didn't hop on the game until 3 or 4 years ago again. So I was kind of passively known about it. And I just had a period some time ago where I just like didn't really know what to do, so I just wanted to try something new. And I don't know, VRChat just kind of seemed interesting because I was kind of like in a bit of a lonely space, so I wanted some interaction with some people or something. And yeah, I definitely met a lot of people, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely kind of glued me to it. Now I've I don't over 5,500 hours in it, so it's been a really big part of my life since I hopped in. For better and for worse, I guess. Mostly for better.
Oh yeah. I mean, like VRChat does lend itself to having like good and not so great experiences. It's just the nature of being around all kinds of different people at all different stages of their lives. It's just kind of just human interaction, human connection. It's very, very, it's always in flux, good and bad. But that's awesome. Like, so you've been in VRChat for I guess predominantly since 2020, 2021.
4 years, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so like a little bit after COVID, which is actually surprising because
Because like, sorry,
no, go ahead.
Cause right around when COVID started is when I was in a job around automation that I had education in. I was there for a year on a contract, and the contract didn't get renewed because of COVID, so I was just like out of a job. I did a bunch of I searched so many jobs, get 0 replies anywhere, and hugely demoralizing. And it was also kind of like where I really want to like kind of fuck this type deal. I'm gonna do my own thing. Miles. And I guess I just did. I literally just stopped searching for jobs pretty much because I knew it's like I'm not getting anywhere with this anyways. And I'm like also not really passionate about it. As I mentioned before, it's just like the job part was just like I want to get this over with. Make the people that tell me to do it happy, kind of deal. Like get the education so you have it, so you can tell people you have it. Even though that's really not what I've ever wanted to do. What was the initial question again? I feel like I lost track.
It was it was basically like you got into VRChat at 2021, and essentially like you were telling about what you were doing like during COVID, because I was saying that most people got started into VRChat during COVID. So it's interesting. Yeah. So you're kind of giving the backstory as to why that was going on. Yeah. Why you weren't in VRChat like in 2020, perhaps. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So after you got into VRChat, like, what was? Do you remember like your first initial interactions? Like, it's only been about 3 or 4 years, and I think it's really, really funny that you're like the first guest that has a comparable amount of hours in VRChat than I do. And what I mean by that is I almost have 5.5k hours also in VRChat.
Nice.
So yeah,
It's
so
basically the same, yeah.
yeah. So like I how did like what was your first interactions like once you decided to commit to being in VRChat in 2021, 2022-ish? And what was that like for you and what made you stick around?
Um, I mean, I kind of almost vividly remember I went to, I guess I just kind of searched furry in the world search, and I found a fur lounge, which I don't think is a world that exists anymore. I think it got taken down. I found a public Rex model there. Thank God I swapped out of that. And I just kind of chill around the mirror. Real mirror driller. Immediately indoctrinated into the mirror driller fandom. um, and I hop around various populated furry hangout worlds. I remember at some point sitting in front of a mirror and someone next to me just kind of sat with me and we never spoke to each other. I wasn't in the speaking terms at that time, but they sent me a friend request. Um, I don't remember their name anymore. I don't think I ever spoke to them after that even. Oh well, never spoke to them, never saw them again after that really. But that was, I guess, the first friend I made on VRChat. And I've always kind of remembered that. I might even have a picture of it somewhere, because every single picture I've taken in VR I've saved. Never deleted a single one. So I might have a picture of that somewhere. But yeah, no, I don't know. Even though we never talked, it was just kind of comfortable and a good vibe. So, you know, I kept hopping on VRChat for more of that experience. Um, Looked up various like groups on VRChat, like people I could hang out with, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And and I think a lot of people are in the same boat of meeting people in VRChat, mainly when they first start. They perhaps make friends with people or make the people add them on their friends list, and they don't really interact with that person ever again for whatever reason. It just doesn't turn out that way. They don't meet up at the same time or in the same space anymore. How does that make you feel any sort of way? I know we kind of go through this in life IRL as well, but do you have any sort of like feelings with regards to the nature of like how we can meet people in these spaces, and ultimately perhaps maybe never talk to them again, or maybe they'll end up being like the closest friend we've ever had type of deal, you know? Like do you have any thoughts about like that dynamic about meeting people and just the touch and go aspect of this VR culture?
I feel like for me, it's not really a big issue. Like, I realize people have their own lives outside of VRChat. Like, most people I met on my early days don't play the game anymore, or at least I haven't seen them on it at least a year. There's still a couple people who still play, and it's always nice to see them. But like, people have lives outside of VR. Maybe they get bored of it. Like, I have obvious interest to keep staying here. It's literally my job now. I mean, if I didn't make it my job, maybe I wouldn't be playing it as much as I have. But like, sometimes you meet people and you don't, really talk to them again. Just, I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much, because people have their own lives. I kind of like the term friendship decay, where some people like, oh, if we don't talk too much, we kind of like get worse. We're like not as good friends anymore. I'm like, it doesn't exist for me. We can not talk for a year, and I'll still, you're still a good friend to me, because I don't know. Maybe you were busy doing something that year. Like, it's just how it is. And especially, I'm have a lot of friends on VRChat. Like, people and fans add me to friends every day, and like, for the most time, I'll probably never see that person again. It's like, it's just a lot to keep track of, especially for me, because I have a lot of people I want to give attention to, and just, I can't physically. There's just not enough time. So I know the part where Like, I'm on the end where I can't talk to everyone. So if if I kind of get that back where I've interacted with someone and they made me not interact much with them back, it's like, yeah, they're probably busy. They're doing their own thing. It's not a bother to me. Yeah, people have lives outside of VRChat.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, having people add you on your friends list, like, people who meet you and such, how do you, like, I know you said you can't be and see everyone, so how do you I guess compromise with the feeling of like, well, this person met me today, they really like my stuff, they wanted to add me on their friends list, and like how do you kind of like, I guess, reconcile the fact that a lot of these people you may not see again, and they're mainly adding you on your friends list because they met you and they maybe you had a great conversation, but perhaps the majority of the people who add you may not see again because you just don't have the time. Like, how do you deal with that?
I mean, it's just kind of become a little bit of a routine, I guess. I kind of have to very effectively use the favorites list on my friends list to filter the people that I'm closer friends with, cause like at this point my friends list is kind of like fans and acquaintances and then close friends, and like I really only have time for the close friends, right? And even still, I don't like add every person who requested. Like sometimes it'd be like I prefer adding people I've talked to at least a little bit beforehand, right? And even still, I still meet so many people all the time. I don't know, it's just kind of something I've gotten used to. Some people are very stingy with their friends list. I'm not necessarily. I don't see the friends list as like I guess it's namesake. It's more like a lot of people I've met, sort of deal. And nowadays, whenever I add someone, I always write a little note on their profile, like where I met them, and maybe like a quick word of like who they are and stuff like that, because I don't know, I can't remember your name. Like, oh hey, we met like there, and I'm like, I don't remember you, but I don't want to say that, right? That'd be super awkward.
Yeah.
So nowadays I write a note on everybody's profile after I add them, so I can refer back to that and be like, okay, who is this person actually, and all that. Because I feel super embarrassed being like, I don't remember you, sorry. Because I don't know, I'm not good at remembering names unless I've like spoken to you frequently or like had more than a few interactions. I'll just kind of forget, because I don't know. Again, I have so many interactions with people every day. It's literally part of the job. Like I have to talk to a lot of people. I do tech support, I guess, for my own assets. Like every day, like I help. I don't know, an average, I would say 5 people per day, troubleshooting various issues and like problems people have. So it's just like, constant interactions with people I've never heard about before. I don't know. It's just part of kind of the lifestyle I've accumulated here now. It kind of, I don't know, comes with the job of being on the popular end of things. You meet significantly more people, and you just kind of have to realize that you will never have time to interact with everyone. And it's just physically impossible. You'd have to live in VRChat 24/7, and that's not happening.
Right. You'd never get anything done.
Yeah, and I guess the only really hard part about that is some people don't really realize that in return. Some people, like a small amount, will kind of expect more from you, think they're a little bit more closer friends than we really are, and like might not be so happy about not having as much attention as they may have expected. I've had a few problems with that in the past, and it's just I know, I always kind of feel bad, like I feel like it's my fault, right? Like I'm disappointing some people who had hoped for a little more, and it's just like I really can't, like it's just not possible. Um, like I guess that kind of also leads into like I just I'm I don't look for a relationship at all, especially on VRChat. Long distance is not something I do, and um, I've had a couple of people in the past who's been interested in that way, and I've had to turn down. It's not always turned out super well. I don't know. It can be a bit rough sometimes, I think. Some people have ended very badly with because I just couldn't give them enough attention, I guess. Um, so sometimes I just kind of hope that, like how I realized that people may be busy, like they didn't DM me back. I mean, sure, that's okay. I just kind of hope to get that back as well. Like I can't respond to every DM all the time, and yeah, I just kind of hope for that back sometimes. Don't always get it. For the most part, I do, but not always.
Yeah, I mean that's really really fair. I think that's one of the most real and understandable aspects of just being a well-known figure on any sort of platform. To be well-known means that there are a lot of people who aren't going to get your attention, and there are people who just are not going to be like close to you in that way. It's not a possibility. So how do you have you dealt with friendship decay? Have you had to like deal with
Yes.
someone who's been like
Oh,
I expected
yes,
such and such from you?
absolutely.
Yeah. What's how you deal with that?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to go too much into like details because I don't want to.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
don't want to mention specific names, right?
Yeah. Don't need
But no, like I've even had recent examples of what used to be friendships end very badly because um I guess just not enough interaction, or maybe the way they saw the friendship was different than how I saw it. Um, and it's definitely tough sometimes. And it doesn't help that I am very um, introverted, because it just makes communication for me sometimes a little bit more difficult. Um, and like turning down people can be a bit hard sometimes. I really don't like the idea of disappointing someone, uh, or that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've definitely dealt with people who have the friendship decay thing, and I just usually hope that it doesn't end as badly as some of them have. Um, yeah, it it's rough sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah, like being someone who's very well known, very popular. People draw their own conclusions about why you haven't responded to their DMs or why you haven't hung out in a while, and people
Yeah.
who aren't in the scene, who aren't who aren't working towards a particular
Mhm.
goal, like similar to what you're doing. I think people misunderstand and draw their own conclusions and think that it's meant to be a slight towards
Yeah.
you when you're
I feel
just
like
trying to focus.
yeah, uh, jealousy usually also plays a role in that stuff. I've seen that happen a couple times. Cause like I have, friends that I will frequently hang out with because we're very close friends, and then I don't know, jealousy will build up in some people. Like they want the same kind there, but maybe I'm not, quite on the same level, and I don't know, some people get pretty nasty about that stuff, and it's not always very pleasant experiences that come out of that. And I don't know, this just kind of comes with the territory of being public figure, post about my stuff online, and yeah, I don't know, this comes with the territory. I realize that, so just kind of have to deal with it as it comes, I guess.
did those certain interactions with these people who are let those negative emotions take hold of them, has dealing with those sorts of experiences made you into a stronger, more resilient person compared to maybe how you used to be? I'm not saying that you weren't before. I'm kind of just like, you've said that a lot of your social anxiety has been helped through interactions in VRChat, but being a public figure has also, and interacting with people has helped in a significant way. So dealing with those kinds of people who just are not good for you in those types of ways, has that made you into a better version of yourself, do you think?
I'd hope so. It's kind of hard to say, I guess. Um, I feel like I'm better at giving advice than taking my own advice sometimes. Um, Sometimes I'm just like not good at rejecting some people, I guess, before it becomes too bad. And um, I feel like I've gotten better. It's just, you kind of want to stop bad things from happening before they get even worse. Um, but like it's just my introverted nature is just like um, I want to avoid confrontation. Like in real life, I hate phone calls. I don't like taking phone calls because it feels like I don't know confrontation. Like it feels too official, I guess. I don't know. It's sometimes I just kind of want to back away from things. But like it doesn't go away. It's still there. Backing away only delays it. So, um, but I don't know. Getting better at it, improving.
Yeah, I think we all are in our own ways, for sure. What do you think about the culture, the social culture of VRChat as a whole? As someone who's been in the scene been on the platform for 3 to 4 years, what are your thoughts about how socializing in VRChat has been since from when you started compared to now? Have you seen any significant changes? Have your interactions become better or worse? Do you see VRChat just improving as a social platform, and just how the people who arrive here are? I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but long and short of it is, do you feel that the social climate of VRChat is improving or declining?
Um, I would say it's getting better overall. I mean, we have a lot more tools nowadays to fine tune our experience, I guess. Um, mm, it's just kind of like you can't really change how people interact with each other. The game can change as much as you want, but the way people act will kind of always stay the same. You'll only just have slightly different tools to deal with those situations. So I feel like in general, it's kind of mostly the same. Because I know just because the platform changes doesn't mean people do. Um, just kind of how you deal with certain situations. So it's kind of like it's improved, but just a little bit. Um, I don't know, kind of just a little bit.
Okay.
That's kind of what I would say. Yeah.
Gotcha. And can you name one positive thing about VRChat that you really like, aside from the people, of course, and the community? I would say I'm not sure if the community would be a positive for you, but I would imagine it would be. Obviously, they're very supportive of your work. But besides those two things, what is one thing about VRChat that you think is a significant plus positive about the platform, and what is a significant aspect that you believe could use some improvement?
I mean, I guess the reason I'm even here in the first place is because VRChat is essentially just entirely user-generated content. Everybody can express themselves in whichever way they want, and I mean, there's really no limitations at all. Um, and I don't know, that's really awesome. There's really, I mean, there's only very few um, social platforms out there that really allow this amount of freedom, and with this big of a community as well. Um, and I feel like the creation aspect of VRChat has only gotten better. We've only gotten more tools and more freedom in what we can do. Um, so I know I absolutely enjoy that, and that's well literally why I've stayed for so long, because I've been able to, I guess, flex my creativity a little bit. Um, and like without really like being halted by the platform in any way. Like VRChat kind of stays, in their own lane when it comes to the market. I mean, I guess they're doing the creator economy soonish, and I'm a little bit on the fence of that. I'm kind of like hoping it's good. It doesn't really cater to my stuff, ironically. It's very avatar focused, and my stuff is stuff you put on avatars, but the creator economy seems like it wants to lead people away from even Unity at all. So like, I guess my stuff is not compatible, and would I lose sales from that because they don't want people to use Unity? I guess I don't know. I was actually I was invited to like do a little survey on it and maybe like apply for it, but I kind of just told like, would I really even fit in this? Because as far as I gather from the creator economy, the stuff I make isn't really compatible. Like, how would that work with the current setup they kind of have going? And they kind of agreed, and they said they hope to get some tools to support the stuff I make as well, because this, like, the stuff I make in the category is like, it's the same category of like clothing and like other stuff you attach to avatars, and like I guess that kind of leads to the point of things I want to have improved. Like the avatar creator economy is not out yet, but from what we've seen, it's kind of leaving out a big chunk of creators in a sense, and I just kind of really hope that it works out. I know I'm a little bit worried, I guess. We'll see how it goes, because it's always kind of worrying when the platform wants to meddle in the market aspect of things. Well, we'll see how it goes. So I hope they improve their scope, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a concern that a lot of people have had. Just like with just the creator economy in general. I think there are a lot of creative people who are creating a variety of different assets. Obviously, avatars and worlds are some of the most prominent ones, but of course you have creators like yourself that are doing a lot of assets and systems and things of that nature, like clothing, weapons, things of that nature. I would like to hear more about your thoughts on the creator economy. My thinking, just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about your concerns about that, perhaps it doesn't have to be a complete loss. Obviously, it would be great if you could literally sell like the weapons. You could literally have a world that's literally like a weapons shop. And like, what if you could actually like just display all the weapons, maybe on specific avatars, maybe like on like just run-of-the-mill like avatars, and you just throw it on a run-of-the-mill avatar. You throw it up in the world, and people can test out the weapon on that avatar, and they can use the creator economy to perhaps purchase through there, or maybe you could have like a link in the world that takes you to the web page. There might be a couple of ways to kind of not completely lose business, but I do see your concerns. But what do you think about that?
It's just kind of the logistics behind that don't really match up, because like, let's say the creator economy is more about being more accessible, right? That's kind of what the point is, right? It's more accessible. You're supposed to be able to just kind of scroll through in game, like, oh, I want to buy this out, and you kind of just have it immediately, right? When it comes to like the stuff I make, it's kind of, my stuff fits any avatar, which also means it kind of has to be micro adjusted to each avatar, right? It doesn't just, you don't just drop it in and it just works. You kind of have to adjust a few things, and that's done in Unity. So how would they deal with that, right? Because every avatar is different sizes and scales and hands and all that. there's really no universal solution that automatically does that. So there always has to be some kind of manual adjustment, which the what we know of the creator economy really leans away from. So I don't know what, if any solution they have for that. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel like the creator economy, from what we see, leans away from the customization aspect of avatars. Because my question is, like, if you buy an avatar from the creator economy shop, do you have access to the files? Like, if I want to edit the color of the clothing, can I? I don't know. I don't really know that about it. And like the customization aspect, the creativity of making your avatar unique to you is like a huge part of VRChat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I feel like it's kind of would go against that aspect of VRChat if the creator economy doesn't have a way to support that creativity, which is why I'm kind of worried, because it feels, I don't know, a bit against what VRChat really is about. But maybe it's just not gonna be, I guess, that big. Maybe it's just gonna be kind of like a side thing for people who just don't care about that part, right? Maybe the person that uses the creator economy wouldn't have been interested in my stuff anyways, because they just want a finished avatar product they can wear and they don't care about customizing. Maybe, maybe that's what they just want to cater to, and maybe nothing more. And that's fine too, I guess. It's I don't know, we just don't know enough. I wish we knew more of what they're trying to do, but we don't.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find out more about that soon. I know all we can really do right now is speculate on what exactly they're planning, what their intentions are. But at least for the most part, I think we can rest assured that VRChat is the devs have essentially the player in mind, since they're players themselves. So that's really the main reassurance that we have, and hopefully whatever like, there is a lot of I've heard there's a fair bit of jousting between the devs and like the higher ups. So hopefully the people at the top will be willing to listen to everyone who is there and developing the game for the players, the people who are actually here. Like the devs are very, very passionate about VRChat as a whole. So I want to ask, what do you think has made VRChat so successful? Perhaps from a player point of view, maybe from a creator point of view, whatever point of views you think are relevant. Why do you think VRChat has, in your opinion, has become so successful?
I don't know, just back to the creative aspect of things, right? You can kind of make VRChat what you want it to be, really. I mean, you essentially create your own experience. It's kind of a safe place to express yourself. I mean, there's a lot of really diverse people on VRChat. There's a lot of LGBTQ people, including myself. I feel like that's like the majority of people here, right? It's kind of it feels just like a safe place where you can express yourself in any way you want, and not really be judged for it, unless you go to the Black Cat, obviously. But we don't talk about it. And like, I feel like that's probably like the biggest part of things. It has a certain of memeability aspect to it, where like things will go viral, and like you kind of just know it's VRChat. Like, it has this certain feel to it. But generally, just like the creative aspect, the community, and just kind of having it be a kind of comfortable place to be in if you know where to go. I would say not all places are equally comfortable. But the community is kind of like holding itself together, I would say, and growing because of that. Yeah.
And with other competition that's out there, there are various other platforms out there. Have you ever had the inclination to try those other platforms, or do you just do you believe that VRChat is just doing something that is very much unique and relevant at this time?
I've never really felt the need to go anywhere else, really. I mean, I'm, well, personally significantly invested in specifically VRChat, and moving would kind of uproot everything. Not everybody is in the exact same position as me, so I'm like, you know, my opinion in this case is extremely biased, obviously. Like, it's my job now, to be here on VRChat, right? I can't just really just move over, unless I essentially say goodbye to all of that. So obviously in that area I have a very biased opinion. This, I mean, I've seen good tools and creative aspects on other things like I forget the name of the other VRChat alternative that has very creative stuff.
Resonate?
But like Resonate, yeah, that's the one. I mean, from what I've seen, they have some really nice creative tools, but I haven't really seen any similarly big economy, I guess. And I don't know, I just really like the aspect where I can create a cool thing, and a lot of people will want that. And I also, all my friends are on VRChat. If I switch over, I kind of lose all of that too. So I know I'm deeply invested in VRChat specifically. So I know something cataclysmic would have to happen for me to go somewhere else, essentially. Which obviously I hope doesn't happen. That kind of suck. I know. It's just not really a big need to swap anywhere, even though some tools and other platforms might technically be more effective or better or stuff like that. I mean, things work here as they should for the most part, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I agree. So, when it comes to just being on the platform as a whole, what do you enjoy most about being in VR when you're not making assets, when you're not doing the work of being in VRChat? What is it about the platform that allows you to have fun, and how do you kind of relax? And I think you might have mentioned this briefly, but a little bit more detail couldn't hurt. But how do you kind of use VRChat as a player, let's say?
I mean, it is more or less just kind of hanging around with friends, really. It is the number one way for me to watch movies, especially with friends. I mean, I guess that's the thing I like the most when it comes to like figuring out, like, oh, what would you want to do today? Let's watch a movie. That's kind of my initial go-to, and I know. Again, I don't really do the game worlds much, really. But I do go to clubs and just hang around in places and all that. That's kind of just how I use VRChat outside of work. It's kind of chill around with friends, mostly close friends. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I do believe that some creators oftentimes get so caught up in their work that they see VRChat as a place they can only go for work. Like I believe I may have interviewed a past guest who essentially only gets on VRChat to do testing for their creative purposes, and then they're done. So I'm always curious to know how creators kind of balance that out and still manage to keep VRChat interesting and fun for themselves, despite spending so much time on the platform to create stuff for the platform. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess that kind of comes back to like the fact that the stuff I make is usually stuff I'd use myself in VRChat. I mean, a good example is my fishing rod I've made. I mean, I spent a lot of time making it, but I've also spent a crap ton of time just literally using it in game, like it's supposed to be, like for fishing. And I don't know, it's equally fun to use my own assets in game as it is to make them. It's kind of like 50-50. as much just chilling in game as I am making stuff as well. And yeah, I enjoy using my own assets because otherwise I wouldn't like making them. I cannot set like I set big standards for myself, I guess. Like kinda I need to enjoy the thing I'm making, otherwise it's not good enough. And sometimes I'll go back to older assets because I've upped my own standards, and I'll literally remake them or update them to be up to my current standards because maybe I've learned new tricks and all that, and I just know how to make it better. And sometimes I look back like, it's not good enough. And sometimes I look back like, people deserve something better than that, and then I'll make it better. But yeah, no, I make the stuff I want to use myself in game, and I do use my own stuff a lot. I put my own stuff on my own avatars all the time, because I want to. That's why I make them.
What do you think about VRChat as... I imagine maybe you don't have to contend with this because you are like a pretty predominant creator and you do a lot of creative things. But compared to the average player, do you see VRChat as a second life of sorts? Or do you find VRChat to be something akin to, I always throw out the option of it being perhaps a hybrid of IRL and VR. But do you perhaps separate who you are IRL from who you are in VR, or is there kind of like a similarity of the two, or maybe like a difference between who Lindy is in VR and compared to like how you would present yourself like IRL?
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a bit of a divide there. I feel like it can be more open on VR, absolutely. About myself and what I'd like to be. Again, my social life in real life is significantly lacking comparatively, so it's there's not much to compare to, honestly. I know. I mean, the me as Lindy has only existed for so long, and Lindy is kind of represents me as full open, like when I'm not like really afraid to show what I want to be. So I feel like it can help me open up more than I can in real life. Yeah, so I'd say yes. Yeah, there's a bit of a divide there, but in a good way, I'd say. I feel like it works out.
So do you feel as though that you've built up like information about like a repertoire of who Lindy is as an individual in VR? So like you've essentially like built up like this life in a way, like this body of experiences as Lindy in VR that's kind of established itself along the way to make you I guess who you are today. Just like, how people grow up over time and figure themselves out over time. I'm imagining that perhaps you had a very similar experience with just growing as Lindy and as who you want Lindy to be for yourself and towards others.
Yeah. I guess you could say that. I'm not really sure what else to add to that, honestly.
That's fair. Yeah.
Again, I feel like this Lindy is kind of the ideal version of me, the most open version of me, the most honest version, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say really about that.
All right, yeah, that's fine. That works. So, do you do you have fandom sense? I typically ask my guests these questions. Like, what do you do?
No, I don't.
No fandom sense.
I kind of wish I did, but no. I guess I don't know. I like to think that it's me being too much technical brained. I'm too aware that I'm in a game to really develop the immersion required to have Phantom Sense. I've since it's kind of funny because I have since introduced a couple friends to VRChat, and they like immediately develop Phantom Sense, and I'm kind of jealous, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of wish I could have that. I've tried various methods people do to like give you Phantom Sense. It's just like not worked. Um, I mean, like I don't need it to enjoy the game. It'd be cool, I think, from what I've heard. Um, but no, it's just not part of my experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're definitely not alone in that. I have to kind of implement, I have to kind of like flip a switch for my Phantom Switch, Phantom Sense rather. But yeah, totally understand. Yeah, Phantom Switch. Yeah, it kind of is. But yeah, I totally understand that. So what are your hopes for VR? Do you have any sort of like beliefs that perhaps you think the VR is going? Where do you think VR is going? Do you have any expectations as a creator or just as someone who's been in the scene for a good bit of time? Do you feel that VR is going to continue to be a technology that continues to grow, or do you think that perhaps it'll end up being something that gets replaced by something else in the future? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
I think it's growing. It's a little rocky. I feel like there's been a few uh times where it's going down a little bit. I mean, I'm currently using the Vive Pro Eye headset, which is really good for face tracking. I mean, the rest of the quality is kind of worse than the Index, but I bought it for the face tracking, and then I mean they stopped producing it, and I'm just sitting here like, why? You had such a good thing going, and like the Quest Pro for face tracking also stopped being produced, and like all these cool headsets that are specifically good for social VR are just like so hard to get nowadays. Um, the big screen Beyond 2 got announced, and I saw it had eye tracking, and I literally bought it on the announcement day. Supposedly it's been delayed to June, so I hope to get that. It looks like a really promising headset. I'd love to not have a huge brick on my head anymore. This thing is not awesome to have on for many hours at a time. I feel like the big screen Beyond, from what I've seen, looks like absolutely something that could be very, very good. Something that's comfortable. It has eye tracking. I don't know. It seems like a good choice. So I hope I hope I'm getting my money's worth. I think I am. Um, I hope the headset that Valve is supposedly gonna announce sometime soon is good. I don't know really anything about it. Crossing my fingers it's not gonna suck. That's kind of where we're at right now. I feel like with VR, at least for the social games, is we're kind of just really hoping for something good to come out soon, because all the previous good choices, particularly with face tracking, are just not easy to get anymore. And the Index, while it's a good headset, is getting on more the outdated side nowadays. Like the Noggle controllers are still the best controllers out there. Somehow haven't been topped yet. But they also have their issues. I mean, like the tracking can go really funky sometimes. But the thing is just like, oh, I mean, it's still the best option there, and it's like really old by now. I mean, the Index has been out for so long, so I feel like all VR users are just kind of waiting for the announcement, which for some people was big screen Beyond 2. Maybe it'll be the Deckard, which I guess the next Steam one is called. We just kind of hope, which is not a fantastic situation to be in. But I know, we'll see.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who are like considering face tracking headsets are kind of like holding off until something good gets announced. That was kind of me, and then I saw the big screen. I was like, okay, I'm getting that, because if this headset broke, I'm not really sure what else I'd get if there wasn't the big screen, really, because I've used eye tracking and face tracking for so long now that I feel weird when I'm not using it. So I kind of like that's kind of like my baseline requirement now. I need it. I feel so much more expressive that way. Yeah, it's just really nice to have. It's just really hard to get something good. I think there's the Babel, which is an indie mouth tracker thing that's adaptable to a lot of headsets, which look really good. I saw someone have it, and I don't know, that seems like a really nice option nowadays. So that's good. I might get one of those sometime.
Nice. Can you talk a little bit more about how face tracking feels comparatively to not having it for people who may be unfamiliar?
It's kind of like when you get full body on for the first time, you're like, holy shit, I'm never not gonna have this on again because like I can move my feet, and I feel like it's kind of like the same experience. Like I can move my eyes and my mouth, and it'll actually happen. Like I haven't had to worry about doing various gestures at the right moments and not looking goofy. As I've gotten used to just knowing what my face looks like, it's just even though the face tracking experience is kind of like paradoxical because the experience is mostly on other people. Other people are kind of who gets the face tracking reward, right? You are the one who sees my eyes looking at you, and I don't really get that. I see it in the mirror, but like it's more like the fact that I know that you see my face as it's supposed to look. It fills me with a lot of reward, I guess. It feels nice. It's just, yeah, it's kind of like the same experience of getting full body for the first time. It's just the next level face tracking. Just like how I would never go on VR as a half body anymore, I'd never go on VR without face tracking anymore. It just kind of feels like something's off. I'm missing something. And you kind of have to try it out to understand that, I guess.
And I do have one more question regarding VRChat, and it's kind of might be a little bit of a spicy one. How do you? I believe we gently touched on how people can be very, we'll say, negative or apprehensive towards different kinds of people, like towards furries, towards certain groups of people, towards deskies, towards questies. You know, how do you like? What do you think about that? And do you think that's just kind of human nature? Do you think that's just how people are in general? Like, how do you think of that sort of thing as like somewhat of an evolving culture as like technology improves, more people have, you know, better headsets, and just how people kind of treat other people who are here ultimately for an experience to figure out who they are as an individual. Like, and how do you think about the good and the bad of people who engage in that?
I feel like VRChat is kind of like it kind of amplifies and like opens up who you really are, I guess, more or less, because it's, you know, it's the anonymity you have, right, which helps you be able to express yourself better, but it also helps you express your worst sides more. And there's a lot of people who out there who aren't necessarily in good places in their lives, and then maybe they'll take it out on someone else in various not so nice ways. And it's just kind of a side effect of the fact that it's a social space, it's a social platform. It provides anonymity and creativeness, which just kind of amplifies and lets you show more of yourself, whether that's good or bad. And I know, just to combat that, you just kind of, you know, curate a little bit who you decide to, you know, see, which is, you know, one of the reasons why I mentioned like very early, like the only public world I really go to is some of the furry publics, because that's where I feel like I meet the most nice people who aren't immediately toxic like some other publics. But for the most part, it's private worlds with friends and stuff, because sometimes you just kind of get tired of all the negativity some people have. And to get around that, you just kind of have to curate your experience a little bit, because those people will do that, and you can't really help them. They'll eventually, hopefully, realize that they need to grow up a little bit. um, it's just the consequence of a social platform having so much creativity. I mean, a lot of social platforms that aren't in VR can easily be very toxic. It's just kind of how people are, and you just kind of have to see past that. Some people aren't necessarily toxic because they're bad people, but maybe they're just not in a good place in their life, and they just take it out on others, and just kind of have to realize that sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, absolutely. So let's move on to your work as an asset creator. We've kind of gotten like the surface level aspects of what got you into it, what kind of brought you into it in that ways. But we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into that, because I'm sure that's what a lot of people want to know, and that's what I am very curious about too. So I know that you mentioned that you had experience in like a technical field. It slips my mind of what field you said, but you did mention that. So like you said, it didn't have much of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my education is within robot automation, which, like, it sounds like it's super relevant, but personally I feel like none of the skills have really transferred over much, aside from maybe just a technical mindset. Other than that, like, the stuff I do, I would say pretty much anyone could do if they just, set their mind to it, like, take their time to start learning it. Yeah.
Okay. And so, like you said, that didn't really transfer very well over, and didn't transfer at all, really. So how did you, like, was it just out of frustration that you ended up started making your own stuff? Is that how you got into modeling and Substance Painter and just started making your own stuff overall?
Well, not modeling. Again, that's like.
Oh, right.
a part I
You don't do
actually
that. Right.
Yeah, I'm the one who does all the technical, Unity stuff usually, and sometimes Substance Painter. Sorry, what was the question?
Basically, how did you get started really getting into those tools?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really just kind of started out because when I started on VRChat, it's like I just had all these ideas of, like, cool things I want on my avatar, and it's just, again, you don't really find people who can make these things, and if you can, they usually don't do commissions, which ironically is now me. I don't do commissions. I get a lot of people asking me for custom commissions, and I have to turn them down because I don't have the time to do that. I spend all my time on the stuff I sell publicly. So unfortunately, no, I don't do commissions. I can't make that very specific thing you really wanted for your avatar. You had to be like me and start learning yourself, I guess, because that's how I started. Cause, like, I couldn't find anyone who could make the specific things I really wanted. So I just kind of slowly built up the knowledge, and nowadays I've made most of the things that I really wanted back when I initially began, and obviously I keep having new ideas of things I want. Like, idea making is definitely not a problem I have. I usually can't keep up with my own ideas. I have a lot of projects that I want to work on, and as well as, like, making them is not fast enough to keep up with that. A lot of the finished projects, like my newest one, is like this maze that can transform I put out. That idea came out like halfway through last year, and it's been in progress like the whole time, in between other projects as well. So usually when I have an idea, I'll think like what do I need for that, and like do I need commissioned work, and I'll usually commission it way ahead of time, which the advantage to that is by the time I want to work on it, I'll have all the stuff I need. Um, the people I commission aren't in a rush to make it. I hate rushing people for work because I just feel bad. Um, and it just makes it easier in general, I guess. But you generally just start out because I just wanted the cool stuff on my avatar that other people couldn't make. So I just kind of had to force myself to learn all the technical, complicated, I guess, stuff that most people don't really do. Because some of my stuff is, like, combined probably way more complicated than most avatars in their entirety are, at least on the technical level. I like to show pictures of like the animator webs that get really big sometimes because I know I really go in depth of making things feel immersive. I want to use the fact that it's VR, right? The things you can hold in your hand should be really interactive because, you know, use VR for what it is, right? It's an interactive platform where you can literally move your hands to anywhere you want, and I want to abuse the fact that you can do that. Makes things much more interesting in that sense, I think.
Yeah, and also like not just hand movements, but also like head tracking too. Like when you look at things, so you can make things activate based on like looking and direction and all stuff too. Yeah. So what is your process when you start with a new idea? Can you kind of break that down for us step by step?
So usually it's a lot of them are literally shower thoughts or ideas inspired by games and stuff. Most of my ideas are inspired by like various media, and I'll kind of try to adapt them to be like their own thing. Sometimes it's not directly inspired by any media, but maybe just like an object like the fishing rod I made. Not directly inspired by anything. It has some inspirations from web fishing, which ironically I haven't played. Just in videos and stuff. I have friends who love the game, so I've kind of like by proxy seen enough content about it. That's kind of like the biggest inspiration, I guess, but otherwise not really. But I'll have an idea, and then I will think, what do I need to begin making that? Like, which parts can I not do myself? Which part will I need other people to make, if any? And then I'll find out the best person for the job to make what I need, which is usually just a 3D model, because that's the part I don't do. So I'll just like find. I have a few 3D models, around 3 or so consistent ones I commission for stuff, and I'll think of which ones would be the best for a job. I'll commission them, describe what I want, make sketches and all that, follow their progress through it, and that'll usually be like half a year before I even maybe begin work on it, like at least months ahead of time. Most assets that I release have been in progress since the previous year because, I mean, I kind of like overlap my projects. Like I'll be working on something while I'm getting a project ready for the future. So I always have a full constant stream of things. I won't really finish a project and then be like, okay, what do I work on next? I don't know. I always have something ready, so I don't get, you know, it's not stagnating. Like I don't get lost and stuff. I feel like that's good because if I suddenly don't have something to work on, that's a bit of a problem, because then I'm not releasing something, and you know, I don't get money, and I need that.
True.
So, just constantly think of these all the time while I'm working on things, and then think what I need, and then eventually, when I'm ready to work on it and I have all the stuff I need, then I can put it in Unity and start work on making it function for VRChat. And that process can usually take from a week to a month to finish, depending on how complex an asset is. my ass is very, very widely in complexity. Like I can usually make a prototype of something functional within a few hours, but finishing it and make it fully polished to my standard, that's the part that takes weeks to finish. Um, like for example, if I made something for just myself, I'd kind of skip all over the polishing part because I don't need to worry about how other people would use it. Just myself, right? Then I can make it something in a day maybe. But when you make something that anyone can buy, there's so many people who are very different, and over the time I've made stuff, I've learned a lot about how people want to use things. Some people like using certain gestures, and some people don't like using certain gestures. Some people are left-handed specifically and don't want to use right-handed. Like a lot of my evolving of assets is usually from feedback of like, hey, I really want to change the asset so I can use it in this way, and then in the future I give the accessibility options to have that. And it kind of started with when I made my sniper rifle asset. It's exclusive in the right hand, because it's just like, oh, you hold it in the right hand. And I got so many people who like, I want to hold it in my left hand. And literally, ever since after that, all my assets in the future have been dual-handed, both hands, because I was like, I don't want to deal with people asking me to put it in the left hand, so I'm just gonna include it as a feature forever in the future. And then some people are less mobile with their hands. Maybe they have disabilities where they can't like reach around and grab stuff, even though like VRChat is a very physical game, but some people are just less mobile. So I included accessibility options that are just menu toggles that skip that part, right? And it's just nice to have. And one of the newer things I've started doing is include toggles in the menus that allow you to remap what gestures do what. Because something I've noticed over a long time is like, some people just don't like the gesture mapping I do. And I can't predict how people will want it because everyone's different. Sometimes the controllers are broken and they can't do a gesture, and maybe that feature is locked out, and that kind of sucks for them. So I just started adding gesture controls, and it does up the backend complexity significantly. But it also helps having more people enjoy it. It's just like more quality of life, more ways you can use it the way you want to, without needing to go in and edit it yourself, because that might not be very easy. So that's really been most of my evolving, is just trying to learn how people use my assets and how I can make the experience from as many people as possible the best way they can. And it's really just up to giving them the options to use it the way they want, because maybe the way I thought they would want to use it is not correct, and it rarely is. And it obviously increases development time, but the reward is very nice.
And so your process, you talked about, you know, getting the piece of the asset, well, getting it modeled, submitting the request for that, doing the sketches for that. You also mentioned, you know, getting into popping into Unity and the complexity of getting everything to work depending on what kind of asset you're making. But what about the substance painter side of things? What about, like, what exactly is that for people who may be unfamiliar, and how does that integrate with the rest of your process to ultimately completion?
Nowadays, that's something I usually rarely do much with, because usually the modeler is also the one who textures it. That's just kind of like how it usually naturally goes, right? Usually nowadays, the most I do in Substance Paint is maybe if I want some alternative textures, maybe I'll make some. But the Substance Painter part is usually not something that I do too much with in my own projects anymore, because I mean the modeler who made the model is usually the one who's also good at texturing it. And they usually do a way better job than I would ever have done anyways, so obviously I'm very happy they can, and I pay good money for people who are very talented, and I have a lot of very talented models who I commission frequently. And it's just like I feel like if I'm able to pay someone for something that looks so good, it's just, it improves the quality of my work, and I also just like working with people in that sense. Yeah, like sometimes if I think like there's like a specific particle effect, like I can make particles, but sometimes there's people who are better at it than me, and I'll commission them because I just think like it'll make the product better overall, so why wouldn't I? I get to work with more people, and offloading some work to something else allows me to focus more on making the things that I can do even better, because I'm kind of splitting the work up. And like obviously I'm in a lucky position where I'm able to afford even hiring people in the first place. A lot of creators can't really do that. Like they can't afford having other people work on it because they just don't have the money for it. I'm obviously in a lucky position where I'm able to do that, but some people work alone because they're kind of forced to, because they don't really have the luxury of being able to do that. And initially when I started out, I couldn't either. I had to find ways to maybe use free existing models, and I did. Like Sketchfab is a nice place to get free models that you are allowed to redistribute commercially. Not always the best quality. It kind of varies a lot depending on what you find, but that's kind of how I had to start out, and until I had the budget to start hiring people for some custom work, and then definitely up the quality of the stuff I made, I think. Because I am not a one-man army when it comes to my products. It's so rarely just me working on something, and I'm always proud to work with other people who are really good at what they do, because it only improves the work that I make. And I guess in turn, I get to pay artists. I love to give artists money for their work. I love appreciating other talented people, and giving them like recognition and money for it, and collaborator status, and I get to promote them on my socials, be like I'm working with this guy and you should check out their stuff, because I like to see other people succeed as well, because I'm succeeding, so I want to give that to other people as well. I want to push other people in the right direction, and it's just rewarding for me.
Hell yeah. And did you mentioned that you did a lot with adding in accessibility options, so people to kind of streamline the amount of troubleshooting that you have to do for people's requests and such, to kind of lower that number. You add in the stuff automatically on all future assets that you make and such. Does that affect your pricing with everything, like having to add these additional complexity options? Has that affected how you price stuff and how you kind of decide on how you want to like charge for that sort of work?
I'd like to say no. I kind of have a price range that I stay within. I usually never go above $20. I feel like $20 is like the max. Is like if I'm hitting 20, I'm giving you something fantastic, like really complex and stuff. 15 is usually the price I'm sticking most to nowadays. It's kind of because I kind of compare to the current market of things, right? Like $60 is usually on the high end of really complicated avatars, and like if I'm paying $60 for an avatar, I sure hope that it's a really good product I'm getting. $35, I'd say that's a perfect price for an avatar. And it might not necessarily be the most complex thing, but it's a comfortable price. And my stuff isn't avatars, right? You put them on avatars. So I want to price it a little bit lower so people's, expectations for what they're getting are realistic. Even though my stuff can be very complicated in the back end, right? It's still it's still an accessory, it's still an add-on for something. So I want the price to reflect that. And also I want to keep it at a level where it's affordable. I don't like, sometimes people will say like it's too cheap, and I maybe internally agree, but there's also good reasons to keep it kind of lower, because I guess ironically anyone who walks around my stuff in game are kind of like a walking advertisement for me. A lot of people be like, oh, Lindy made this, go check out the store, and I mean that's free advertisement for me, that's fantastic. It's a huge advantage of the way the stuff I sell works in the first place, is just naturally like making it more accessible kind of loops back on itself being more advertisement for me, and it just kind of works out, I guess. But as for pricing, I don't know, I feel like my pricing hasn't changed even though my stuff has gotten more complicated. Like even though I'll go back and improve my older stuff and it'll have more features and all that, but I won't. I'll never increase the price. I've never increased the price of anything. In fact, I've only lowered the prices, because I don't know, increasing prices, that just feels weird. Even because I don't know, I'm updating the assets because I want you to get a better product. I want it to be up to my own standard, and I don't necessarily want you to pay more because of that. I just want you to get a better experience. So, yeah, I feel like my prices have stayed perfectly consistent throughout the whole time. But even though I get better at making it, I'm not increasing the prices because of it. And I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. So, when it comes to just kind of, my question slipped away. Right. The business aspect of just selling and creating products and providing value to customers and the whole customer aspect of things. How did you gain those skills? I think a lot of people tend to shy away from getting into crafting things for other people because then it becomes a business, and then you have to deal with the logistics, then you have to deal with taxes, then you have to deal with customers, and then you have to deal with troubleshooting. There's a lot of aspects that go into essentially starting a business, or selling a product. So, how did you go about gaining those skills, and I guess how easy was it for you to get into what you're doing now creatively?
Yes, that's absolutely something a lot of creators are not very good at, and I don't blame them because making something and marketing yourself are completely different skill sets, and rarely will they overlap. I mean, that's why a lot of companies will spend billions of dollars on marketing because um, it's necessary to get anywhere, really. Um, I won't get too much into it, but I have some previous experience that have helped me in that aspect of being able to market myself, like kind of work social media in a way where it helps me grow and like help get some attention to the stuff I make. And I've absolutely recognized that a lot of creators just lack that skill set. And I've occasionally coached some friends on their pages and like how they should promote themselves, and I've always seen improvement on like if you kind of know how to market something, it's giant difference. And I feel like that's definitely something that's helped me grow to the size of creator I am. Just the fact that I have that kind of knowledge that helps me do that. Um, I remember a while back, I made a tweet where I encouraged creators to give me their store pages, and I would critique them of things I would improve. And I created a lot of pages. I could see a lot of improvements here and there, and people were very grateful for it. And then a couple months ago, I met a person, and they expressed that they were one of the people who had commented on that post with their store page, and they had taken the criticism I gave them and improved their store pages, and they did see immediate differences, improvements of retention and like customers and like just general improvements, and they really thanked me for it. And I'm just like, it makes me very happy because I'm like, hell yeah, you learned something and you can continue that. And it's just kind of like getting into the mindset of knowing how other people think and how other people see your store. Because sometimes the aspect of creation is like creating the thing is half the work. Selling it is completely different, and sometimes also very daunting to think about, and can be a little bit tiring because I mean, every store page I write is basically an essay in itself. There's a lot of text, and it's not always easy to know what to write. Like, how do I show this off in a way that would make other people spend actual real money on it? How do I make it look interesting enough to convince someone that they should buy it? And usually it just comes up to don't be afraid to show everything about it, really, because if your product is good, you just need to not be afraid to show it off, in a sense. I mean, more or less, the store pages that I make on Gumroad and Jinxie now is really just describing every single aspect of what you're getting. Usually the way I say is, if the customer who's looking at your page has a question that is not answered on the store page already, then that should have been there on the store page, right? Because, for example, maybe the question could be, would this work on Quest? If it doesn't say on the store page, it should have, because maybe now that person is like kind of doubting themselves if they even should buy it, and then that's a lost customer. If it's not answered on the store page, it should have. If you have a really big feature of your avatar, maybe it has a gun or something, don't just write has a gun. Describe it, show it off, show videos, like talk about what features and what it can do, because maybe that gun that avatar has is a selling point for a customer out there, because that's what they would look for in an avatar. And you really need to not be afraid to show the stuff you've made, and I don't know, seems to work for me, and it has helped others. And obviously also knowing the social media and like posting and announcing and showing progress and all that, it's definitely a whole other thing. And then there's also the customer service aspect. I deal with that a lot, and that's also talking to a lot of people every day. And again, I mentioned it earlier, I feel like I estimate it to like roughly, I don't know, 1 to 5 people per day, usually on the high end. And that's a lot of people to talk to, and it's a lot of time I have to spend. Like a lot of my work time is just troubleshooting people who have some issues, usually just small install issues. But most people are just not that technical, right? And you have to learn, how do I help debug someone's problem, and how do I deduce like how do I easily know what their skill level is, so I have to talk to them in a certain way where they understand what I'm saying and they can get to the solution as fast as they can as well. And that's also another entirely different skill set. A creator may just not be able to handle that super well, right? Because it's also just a lot of time. There's a ton of creators out there who kind of skip that part, whether it's because they don't want to or they just can't. But again, I feel like it's just so necessary, because if you can't help people who have issues here and there, because there's a lot of technical stuff when uploading to VRChat, And if someone gets stuck somewhere, they never get to upload the avatar they bought, then maybe that's a permanent lost customer because they kind of had a bad experience there. And usually, my goal is, if I'm starting helping someone, I need to have them have a working product by the end of that. And if not, I'm offering a refund because um, maybe then I've failed. If I can't troubleshoot their problem, then I've failed there. I did have a very unique issue with someone a few days ago. I still can't explain it. For some reason, the specific particle setup just wouldn't work on their computer, and it literally made no sense. I objectively have no clue. I've never seen the issue before, and I couldn't fix the issues. So I told him like, the best I can do at this point is offer refunds, because if this affects your product in such a bad way that you think it's unusable, I'll allow you a refund, absolutely. But yeah, it's just like creation, marketing, tech support. It's all not necessarily overlapping skills. I'm very lucky that I think I'm very good at all of those, and that's absolutely helped me significantly. It's also a lot of work though, because I have to be all those departments myself, which means I spend a lot of my time on the work I do. And then it rounds back to the part where I have less time for friends. And we get back to just being a workaholic, I guess.
Yeah. I mean that's really what it's like sometimes when you're being a content creator. You really have to just kind of focus on the work, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see and people don't really grasp. And I think that's so important to like talk about that sort of thing. So like about the videos aspects, what would you say would be important for a creator, whether they're making assets or worlds or avatars or whatever? Like, what would you say goes into making a video or taking photos, like in terms of like marketing the product on like the page? Because obviously Gumroad and Jinxie are the big players for avatars and assets in the VR community. So what would you say would be the best methodology to think about making videos and pictures to advertise your product?
Yeah, when it comes to marketing your avatars in videos, specifically for store pages, it's really just think about how can I best show off what this feels like to use, and how can I best show off the main features that would be the reason someone would buy this. I feel like some things that I see a lot of that I feel like is maybe not the best way to show off. Like the product is these kind of very distracting music type videos where they'll have loud music blaring, and you don't really like, maybe the avatar will dance around a lot and stuff. But what I would like to see is like, what would this avatar feel like to use myself, right? I'm looking at the store page, and I'm kinda you kinda dare to imagine yourself like, would this be an avatar for me? So the what you kind of want to achieve as a creator is to fulfill that for the customer who's viewing it. Like, and a lot of people view different avatars for very different reasons, and buy different avatars for certain specific reasons. So again, you have to kind of cater to all kinds of people's needs, which is why we come back to, you just don't leave anything out. If a potential customer could have a question about something that's not answered, then it has to be answered on the store page. Don't skim out on it. Don't just type a few sentences and think that is good enough, because it's not. It's absolutely not good enough. You have to write as much as you can. Even if the page becomes super long, that's fine. It just means that there would be less confusion, because if someone buys an avatar and they have an assumption of something, and then that assumption is broken the moment they try it, then they have a bad experience. They might leave a bad review because they expected something different. Maybe you weren't clear enough of what the features were. Like, it wasn't just wasn't clear enough what they were getting. So it's really just about eliminating doubt that the customer could have. The customer who buys your product needs to have zero doubt of what they're getting and what they're paying for, because that means they know exactly what they're getting, and if they could be mad about anything, then they kind of already had an idea of what that would be. So it just kind of minimizes the chance of a bad customer experience, because you want every customer to have a good experience, and that usually comes up to what they are expecting from the product. So usually what I would do what I do on my pages is I have a header picture that's usually like front and center, shows and poses of the product itself, and always the next thing is just a straight on video, my POV, showing pretty much everything about this with no distractions, so you can clearly hear the sounds it makes, because usually my stuff there's a lot of nice sounds, right? So I want that to be something you can clearly see, and a lot of my stuff is very tactile. You have to hold it in your hands and stuff, so that's why I'm choosing a first person POV, because my stuff is the stuff it's usually like guns or swords and stuff, so I want you to experience what it's like, right? You need to see that this is what it's like to use. And then otherwise the rest of the store page is just going through every single feature that this asset has. And usually they have a lot of features, so there's a lot to show. And then by the end of that, hopefully the customer knows exactly what they're getting, what features they have, what it feels like to use it, and then they can look at the price and be like, that seems fair, and I'll buy it. And when they get it, they know exactly what they're getting, and there's literally no doubt, and they're usually very happy about it. And I mean, most of the ratings on my stuff is usually 5 stars, which means I'm probably doing it right, because usually when someone has a bad review, it's because there were maybe a technical issue that could be easily fixed or something like that. And sometimes the bad reviews are things like older assets that didn't have certain accessibility options that now newer stuff has, because I take that feedback and I improve future things to be more accessible, because more than 90% of the features nowadays is just more accessibility options, because everyone's different. Everyone wants things for different reasons and use things in their own ways, and I just try to satisfy everyone, even though it's an impossible task. You can't satisfy everyone, but I try as much as I can. And that's how I go about it, really.
Gotcha. Thank you for the details. I really do appreciate that. So we're gonna run through a couple of your products and kind of just like do a little bit of like a brief overview of like, you know, your mindset, your process, and why you came up with the idea, what inspired you, and kind of like a couple of details with regards to a couple of products that I thought were pretty cool that you've made. So there's the newest one that you're currently working on that's not quite done yet. I believe it's a 3-way transforming sword. So it's I believe that's what it is. I may be getting that miscorrected.
I recently released the mace that turns into a flail. And
Right.
I've been teasing my upcoming thing, which is a scythe that's also be able to transform. It's kind of like a series of 3 assets that I'm working on with a specific modeler.
Right.
All Bloodborne inspired weapons. I can show the previous one real quick. I have it on Avatar, but it's kind of because, again, inspired by video games. I love Bloodborne, so I kind of like the idea of transforming weapons. Am I loaded for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, I mean, just kind of getting the idea to life, I guess. Trying to remember if I can controls. Gesture settings. Oh, there we go. I'm very proud of how this one turned out. It's very satisfying. The people who've bought it, friends who've tried it, kind of all say the same thing. This thing is just very satisfying. Sounds have been a huge part of making this thing. A little subtle thing you can hear is the jingling chain as I swing it here a little bit, and all the noises it makes if I swing it. It'll make sounds. Crib noises, like sounds are such a huge part of my assets because it just makes them feel more tangible. Like usually when I'm working on something and I don't have sounds on it yet, they kind of feel eh. And then I add sounds that are like, now we're getting there. Even though like the only thing that changes sounds are just so big on making something feel cool. I usually edit all the sounds myself. I'll use various free and paid sound effect websites to like gather effects from, and then I'll edit them together in ways that I need for the specific asset myself. And usually it's a whole day process. I usually do all sound effects in one go in like a day. And then I'll add them in. It's always so rewarding to put sound effects on something. I love doing that.
All right. So the next thing I'd want to talk about is the punk hacker, system that you put together, and I think that one is particularly different because it's less about like a physical weapon and more about like a technical system. So like you do like systems type design also in Unity. So I'm actually really curious about how that came together. Obviously you're inspired by Cyberpunk, it's obvious. But
that one has a very specific story. Actually, a very relevant person in the chat as well, who helped inspire it as well. Because I was some time ago invited to a Cyberpunk roleplay group, and I've never done roleplay in VRChat before, so I was kind of like, you know what, I'll try it out. And of course, I go through the process of finding relevant stuff to put on my now cyberpunky avatar, and I was like, I want hacking. And then I'm thinking like existing systems are kind of lackluster, maybe not exactly what I want. And then my friend who invited me, Booba Spice in the chat, would also wanted like a hacking system for the group. So I'm kind of like, well, I could make that. That doesn't seem so hard. So in that same day, in 2 hours, I make a working prototype to be like to see if this would function, and it sure did. And then I spent like a week, a little bit over, basically polishing it up. And I decided to make it free specifically because the punk hacker asset is the type of asset that only interacts with other users who also has it. It's an asset that that's catered to roleplay groups, and I'm kind of thinking realistically, like if a roleplay group wants to use this, they wouldn't necessarily want to have everyone pay for it, because then it gets really complicated, because some people might not be able to afford it, and then only some people have it, and it kind of gets so I just wanted to make it free to keep it as accessible as possible. And there's also like, I have a lot of free stuff on my store, and I feel like that's for good reason, because the free stuff, they might not gain me much money, but they do gain free marketing essentially, literally free marketing, because by magnitude of downloads is so much higher because they're so much more accessible. There's no downside to really just trying it out. And maybe someone who has that will tell their friends about it, and maybe that friend will check out my store, and maybe they'll be a paying customer. So like, the free stuff, it's just kind of like a win-win situation. People get free stuff, and that's awesome, and I just get free marketing essentially. The only downside is I just have to make some stuff free sometime, which I don't know, I like it. I get to give people more stuff, and I get something out of it as well. That's just less tangible, I guess. But yeah, otherwise the punk hacker has been really successful so far as a free asset. A lot lot of people seem to really like it. It's a fun thing to interact with people with, and has been really nice for the roleplay group as well. That it's visually inspired it.
All right. Next asset I want to talk about is the janitor. Asset. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
The initial idea for that came because I wanted a vacuum on my avatar because I thought that was kind of a goofy idea. So I just found a vacuum model on Sketchfab, and I asked my friend Melgot to help give it a little bit of better rig because the initial setup was kind of goofy. And then I had a vacuum on my avatar for a little bit as a joke, and I was kind of like, I could, make this more of a thing, and maybe have like a bundle of cleaning stuff, because like cleaning stuff on avatars is not really a new thing. There's a lot of maid type avatars who have like little cleaning assets and stuff, but having a whole asset that's more accessible and easily put on and stuff like that, I just thought would be pretty neat. And then at the end of it, I made the vacuum part free, and then the rest of it a paid edition essentially. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. People can, just get the vacuum if they just want some free stuff, and then if they feel like paying more, they get even more stuff. And it's funny because that specific idea just kind of stemmed from, again, me wanting something on my avatar, and then is eventually deciding, well, I guess I could make this a bigger thing and just sell it as well. Which I guess a lot of the stuff kind of boils down to me wanting something neat, and then other people see the thing and they're like, ooh, I kind of want that as well, and I'm like, sure, I'll make it.
Cool. All right. So the next asset I want to bring up is the force choke asset.
Yes.
How did that come to be?
Yes. That was also something I had made for myself, totally as a Star Wars roleplay thing, absolutely. And I posted it to Twitter at some point, and oh boy, it garnered attention. And turns out a lot of people are really excited about that stuff. So I mean that thing, like that's like generally like such a small thing. Like I made it in a day because it's like really not that complicated. So I just made it super cheap as well because I almost feel bad charging for it because it's so low effort, I would say. But again, rotating back to the part where it's me making something for myself, it turns out other people also want it, right? Like, which is cool because I guess my ideas are good enough that a lot of people want the same things, which is nice because I get to make the stuff that I like, and I don't feel forced to make stuff that I think other people would like. I get to make the stuff that I like, and other people buy it. Which I guess some avatar creators are kind of stuck in that where like they make specifically what they think other people would like, but maybe they're not so passionate about that specific thing themselves. And then you can kind of get in a hole where you're not maybe enjoying the work as much as you could. So I'm very lucky that I'm in a position where I can make stuff I enjoy making, and other people are wanting to pay for that as well. So I'm extremely happy about that. I'm so grateful.
Hell yeah. And one other asset I want to see what your thoughts about that are is regarding the first one that I believe it most likely isn't your first asset ever, but it's the last one that appears on the Gumroad page, which is the interactive lantern.
Yes.
So
that was
the first one you've made? Okay.
Yeah, well, technically the current one shown on the store page is the remake, because at one point I literally remade the entire thing from ground up. But the first version of it, that was kind of like me. Like initially I was like, I need to think of something that'll be the first thing I make that other people will buy, essentially. The first thought I had was a flare gun, because I thought that was kind of a neat little thing. It's kind of interactive, kind of usable maybe. Then I looked it up and oh, it turns out somebody already made that. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll make something else. And I kind of played around with the idea that a lantern is kind of neat because you can kind of have it dangling, and then I can use fist bones in a unique way, where you can hold it, and it's cool for like aesthetic uses, maybe for horror maps and stuff, because it has like a certain vibe. And yeah, so I decided to make just the lantern, and I specifically named it the interactable lantern because this is around the time where SDK 3 just kind of came out, where contacts and fistbones were a thing. And before that, interaction with other avatars were basically non-existent. You couldn't even like touch each other's hair without bots, which they removed. So interactability was literally something that was part of the advertisement, because now you can touch the thing and it does a thing because you touched it, which was like revolutionary. Technically, it's like, whoa, we can touch things and they do things? That's crazy. We can touch a button and it'll actually do something. Like nowadays, we kind of like almost brushed that aside, like that's normal, but back then that was like huge. So I wanted to kind of use those new things, and that's really only the, like nowadays if I made a lantern I wouldn't put interactable in it because it just kind of comes with the, it's just how it is, right? But back then I named it that to kind of hammer it home, hey, this is different, you haven't seen this before. And then like, I don't know, a year after something, I reworked the whole lantern because I've learned a lot since I made it. So I just wanted to improve it. I commissioned a new model for it, custom model, to make it better instead of a kind of a scuffed model from Sketchfab, and gave it more accessibility features so it was easier to use and all that. I'm still very proud of how the asset is as it is currently. I feel like it was a really nice choice of a first thing to make. And then after that it was the sniper rifle, which was my first free asset. And thank God I made that, because I think that really helped me get my name out there, because it was free, and as we talked about, free is good marketing, very good. It might be the most downloaded thing on my store. That's like thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads. And I've also remade that since I released it, because I wasn't happy with how it was in the initial release. But I feel like the first two things, the lantern and the sniper, are a huge part of the reason why I am where I am today as well. If I made different stuff, maybe I wouldn't have become a big creator. I just had some really good choices back then, I guess. They really helped me get seen, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like, you never know what's gonna grab people's attention and what they're gonna be into, and what's gonna really, grab people's attention and what they may want to use or attach to their avatar. And honestly, I think it's because of like those initial choices that you made that really leads into why you were a part of the VR Community Awards this year. And that's something I most certainly would like to chat with you about and see, what your thoughts regarding that, go into, like what you're thinking about that is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My award that I got from it. And yeah, I didn't expect to win 2 awards, that's for sure. I'm eternally grateful that so many people voted me to win anything at all. I mean, like, I never expected so much from where I started. So it's just really neat, I think. I'm very happy so many people look up to me and enjoy the stuff I make enough to feel like I should get a community award for it. I'm just just very happy and grateful for it. There's not much else to say really.
So for specifics for people who may not be in the know, you won an award for Insightful Instructor and another award for Asset Creator.
And Asset Creator, yes.
Yes.
Initially, I encouraged people to vote me as Asset Creator because I was like, well, that's literally the thing I do. But then turns out people also voted me for Insightful Instructor, which I hadn't at all even mentioned as one of them. I was like sitting watching. I was in a in-game in a watch party with people, and I was like, I really hope I don't win that award. Actually, I feel like the other people deserve it way more than me. And then I won it. I was like, cool. I don't know if I deserved it, but I guess people think I did. I'm very happy that I won it. Obviously, I didn't expect it at all. But I'm very grateful that people enjoy my guides and stuff enough to vote me for that as well, aside from just Asset Creator. You know,
Why do you think that you won Insightful Instructor?
I think it's because of how much attention I put to the install guides I do and all the customer service I do, like helping people getting their things working right. Because when it comes to buying stuff for your avatars or avatars themselves, a lot of the times it can be kind of like, it's usually written out like, oh, requires some Unity knowledge, and then they just give you the files and kind of leave you to it and hope you figure it out. For me, I kind of always baseline assume that this needs to be able to be purchasable and usable by someone who hasn't uploaded an avatar before. And if my guide can help someone get through the process of basically using Unity for the first time and they can get it working, then I've succeeded. Which is why I give a lot of attention to how I present the install guides and what things I mention and how I mention them in the order and the speed I do it. And I've gotten a fair amount of compliments. Like, a lot of people have thanked me for the guides and really think they're super helpful, and some people have even like gotten into creation of various things because they've kind of learned things directly off of just the install guides, which is even surprising to me. But I feel like just the install guides might be so memorable to some people because they've just kind of been good experiences in general that they thought that I deserved that award as well. Like, I do some tutorials here and there about like how to create some stuff, but mostly it is the install guides. So I'm just kind of thinking that has to have been what stuck with people, and it stuck with them enough that they think I deserve that award for it as well. Yeah, I mean, it just comes back to I want my stuff to be accessible to as many people as possible, and it kind of has to because my stuff is made to fit any avatar, so my audience is very wide by default. So I kind of, if I want the best outcome, I kind of have to cater to everyone, which is not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts about the VR Community Awards? And for people who may be out of the loop, the VR Community Awards is an event that was created by Puck. Puck, who is a streamer and content creator as well. We had them on the podcast a couple months ago, and we had a conversation about the VR Community Awards and what their thoughts about that are. And I'm curious to know like your thoughts on how you thought the event was put together, and I guess what went into like being a finalist essentially, as a part of that.
I think for a first award thingy that I think VRChat has ever had, I'm pretty sure it's been the only one.
Yeah, it was the first one.
It was handled really well. I personally know a lot of the people who worked on it. I'm friends with a lot of them, and like they've all done so much work. I mean, like Fulski, who made the map that it was showcased in, is actually the same guy who I commissioned for the world that I have my avatars in. So I already know that he's really talented, and he he put so much love into the work he does. I mean, like, I commissioned him for that world, and it like almost became a passion product for him, a project for him, and like it's such a pretty world. I paid him so much more than he asked for just because he put so much effort into it, and I still feel like I underpaid him. Um, so like obviously he did such an amazing job on that, and there's also all the back-end technical stuff that like are done by people you don't even see on camera, and they did such a good job. And obviously Puck as a host has such a huge responsibility, and man, I sure as hell wouldn't have been able to do all that shit. That's for sure. But I think it like overall was handled really well. There was some hiccups here and there, but like it's almost to be expected, right? Like you can't get it perfect the first time, and you did it. They did it really well, and I know as a finalist and as a winner, it was definitely interesting to watch, and yeah, very fun, very grateful for all of it, really.
What I'm curious. I'm not sure how much you can talk about this. So obviously, if you can't talk about certain things, feel free to omit. But what were the credentials or the I guess the specs for submitting your video as like your acceptance speech, essentially?
So basically, pretty much every finalist just had to make videos under the assumption of if they won, really. So, I mean, like, even if I hadn't won anything, I'd still have the videos, right? Because, I mean, we didn't know ahead of the time if we won. So I just made videos for both of them, and there really wasn't like too much guideline, really. It was more or less just I think we had a time limit, a minute or so, if I remember correct. But other than that, it was just, do your thing, really. So I tried to come up with something that would be bearable to watch, at least. And yeah, and then I won both the awards, so people got to see both the videos I made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of slacked a bit on the Insightful Instructor one because I was under the assumption that there was no way I was gonna win that one. I was wrong, apparently. So my asset creator award video had a little bit more effort put into it. I was into several different worlds and all that, and showed a little bit more stuff, but. Yeah.
Okay. And what was it like to be watching with your friends and for not only to win just one but two awards? Like what kinds of feelings? Like, were you feeling anticipation? Were you feeling anxiety? Were you excited when you won? Like what were some of the feelings that were kind of swirling around, and what was the vibe in the room where you all were hanging out in VRChat?
It was fun. It was a very chill time, honestly. Just sitting there with a lot of my close friends and just watching in anticipation, because the Asset Creator Award was definitely one of the later ones, so I had to wait a long time to see the results of mine. And like, I know, like the Asset Creator one, I feel like I had a very high, like I was kind of like, yeah, I probably won that one. I feel like comparatively my audience is so large that like I guess I was kind of sure I would win that one. When it came for the Insightful Instructor one, I was like completely surprised. Like I really did not expect that, and a mix of I don't deserve that one, and I'm also really happy though. So just generally grateful for how many people decided to write my name down specifically. Because I'm sure it's not a small number. That's a fact.
Aside from the growth, your audience, I believe in your video you gave credit to a number of the other creators who were nominated and such. So I believe you acknowledged them in your video, if I remember correctly. So did you?
Yes. So in my asset creation award, I specifically mentioned pretty much everyone who has had significant part in all my assets, really, which included modelers, shader creators, particle makers, and all that. And I just list everyone because like I want everyone to be recognized in at least some way because they deserve it. Because I really don't want people to assume that I make everything myself, because I don't. I work with so many people all the time. I couldn't make the stuff I do alone. So the other people deserve recognition as well. It's not just my award, because there's so many other people who really did some amazing work. So obviously I wanted to give them at least a mention. And for the Insightful Creator award, Insightful Instructor award, I mentioned other people who I thought do good tutorials or videos or instruct people in things, and I was like, I'm not the only one out there. Other people also do stuff, and we need to recognize that. Even though I'm the one who won, other people have value to give as well.
What do you think about future? If hopefully there'll be another award show for the VR space. Hopefully, but
I think so, yeah.
yeah, assuming that in the anticipation of there being another one, what are your thoughts about people who have already won awards in comparison to those who have not, and also getting new people to perhaps having an opportunity to be nominated who perhaps weren't this time around? Do you have any thoughts about how that should be handled, or as a recipient of 2 awards yourself?
I guess that's kind of tough to think about, because I mean, VRChat is ever changing. There's always new creators who pop up here and there, and I feel like I haven't really lost any speed since then. I'm still going strong, and if I were to be voted in again, I might have a fairly high likelihood of winning something again. And like, the question is like, is that unfair? Right? Like, people would still vote for me, but is that unfair because I've already won? Like, I don't know if I'm qualified to even answer that, or maybe my answer is biased because I've already won, right? I'm not sure. And then, like, would it be unfair to exclude people who've won? I don't know. That's I don't know if I can really say much about that, honestly. I feel like my opinion would be biased. Because obviously I would like to win more awards, but that's just, I also want other people to have their chances. But as it's hard for some creators to grow, and like it is it's a very tough market. It's very saturated. It's hard to stand out. So sometimes it's hard to see new faces because the big creators stay big, and some small creators just kind of can't really break through that. So it would definitely be interesting to see what would happen if, for whatever reason, they would exclude previous winners from voting. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't. I personally, I wouldn't be mad if they did that. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, they want to give other people a chance for some recognition, and I think that's fair enough. And if they don't do that, I mean, also fair. That's their choice, not for me to decide for them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, getting like your perspective, I think is interesting. Obviously, there would be some bias involved with answering that question, but I think it's always good to just hear what people think about the idea of it. So, yeah, I appreciate you answering that. Has winning an award helped, or has that changed anything for you? Has it changed the amount of people, the amount of traffic that you receive through your pages? Has that changed? Has that increased your notoriety any more than it already was? Has that, how has that, if at all, winning an award changed that for you?
I don't know if I've seen any visible change in traffic. I've had many people congratulate me on the award in game and stuff, but I don't know if I've necessarily seen any certain like visible growth or spike after that. Not really, no. I feel like I'm in a position where I'm only like like I'm obviously very recognizable already, right? At a point where would that award show have too much of an effect? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. And if it had an effect, it might not have been big enough for me to really notice. Like, I guess I'm like patting myself on the back. Like, I'm a big creator, so it's kind of hard to bump it even bigger at this point. I'm already doing well. Can I do even better? I kind of just want to continue doing at the level I'm doing already. I'm already doing really good, so I just kind of want to keep doing that. I don't really feel like I have even a need to grow more. It's not necessary. So also giving the opportunity for other people is perfectly fine for me because I'm doing perfectly fine as is, really. Yeah, I haven't seen any visible change at least, so.
Gotcha. All right. So with my guests, I typically like to chat a little bit, relatively like for a little bit about, how they perceive relationships, how they perceive love, things of that nature, how perhaps VRChat has maybe changed that definition, or how they perceive certain aspects in their own personal lives. Obviously, only be as open as you want to be about certain things. Obviously, keep certain things to yourself if it's not, not kosher. But I do like to ask because I think it's interesting to learn about people's perceptions, and I think that kind of shows a little bit of an additional layer of people's personalities. So, when it comes to matters of like relationships, what is important to you when it comes to even potentially looking at someone as a potential partner to like kind of go along with you on this journey of life? Like, what is important to you with regards to that sort of thing?
I guess that's kind of tough because when it comes to VRChat, I've kind of closed the entire opportunity of finding a relationship through VRChat at all. It's just not what I'm looking for when I'm on here. Most specifically because I don't want a long-distance relationship. That's not something I could really deal with, I guess. That's just not how I work. The ironic part is just how bad I'm at approaching people in real life anyways, so I know looking for a relationship just hasn't been a focus for me in a very long time. I'm kind of content with that. And I'm like, I used to think about that a lot more.
If you would consider such a thing, what would be important to you in that regard? What would be necessary?
Man, I don't even know at this point. Just someone who I could, I don't know, just cliche be honest with, I guess, who knows all parts of me and accepts all those parts, which yeah, I just haven't put too much thought into it lately because I'm at the point of where I'm just kind of stopped actively looking for a relationship. It's just I know it got really exhausting at some point in my life where it's just like it's something I've thought about a lot, and it just kind of broke me a little bit. So I just kind of stopped doing that, and I've been a lot happier since. Just kind of being content with what my current situation is, and if I find someone good, if I don't, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I totally I hear that 100%. I'm actually very much in the same camp. I have kind of written off, not completely, but just the need for it. I've essentially kind of done away with. So I'm very happy and very content doing my own thing, pursuing my own goals, being very, very happy just pursuing the things that I really value. And it seems that in a similar way, you've kind of just like, you're happy just being on the journey of working towards your goals and creating things that make you happy, and just really having good friends and reliable friends in your corner. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I feel like that's also just a healthier way to live. You don't want a relationship to be the reason why you're being you. You want to be happy with yourself before you could be happy in a relationship, I think. If you can't really be happy with yourself and you're just looking for a relationship to fill that hole, then it's not gonna last long, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like there's kind of, you see that a fair amount in VRChat, I think. There's a lot of relationships that don't last very long, and I feel like it's just a lot of people who are trying to fill out holes of loneliness and maybe rushing into things a little bit too much, and they usually don't last very long because of it. But that's just how I see it, I guess.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I believe there's a fair bit of just very impulsive, just let me fill this emptiness inside without finding something valuable within themselves, something that brings them joy within themselves to fill that gap. And people are constantly searching for someone to do that. I think that's not a good way to live. I think that's not a good response. That's not something to put onto someone else. No one should have the responsibility of filling, completing somebody. A person should seek to be complete of their own, and then seek to complement someone else's existence by what they have already discovered to be complete in and of themselves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely agree with that line of thinking. Aside from having someone being long distance, would you have any sort of red flags, deal breakers, anything that would be just yeah, that's probably not gonna be good for me, type of thing?
I don't know if I can think of an answer to that right now, honestly.
That's fair. That's totally fair. That's all right. So how do you perceive love in general, and maybe not in the sense of like it could be platonic, it could be romantic, it can be just in terms of loving your own work or just self-love. How do you really define that?
Getting really deep there. I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know. I'm kind of stumped. I don't know. I guess I am not very good at talking about deep feelings like that, really. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. No worries. No problem. All right. Yeah. I think it's perfectly fine to just be a person who doesn't really require those sorts of things, and you're just very content, just kind of living your life, doing your thing, and just really making stuff that makes you happy. And I think that can be that's most definitely a great way to live. You know,
Mm.
like a lot less stress. You know, you can only disappoint yourself. It's pretty chill, and like having friends and friendships in
Yeah.
general, like healthy friendships, I think really is something that I think everyone should really focus on. Like first and foremost, having relationships, friendships that support you and that are in your corner, and people who are there for you. I think that's what matters the most. Has making friends been difficult for you at all by being, Lindy, essentially?
I wouldn't say difficult, no. Uh, Maybe sometimes too easy. Um, there's a lot of people who really want to be my friend, and maybe I don't even know them. That I guess kind of leans into the parasocial side of being a public figure, where someone else knows you a lot more than you know them, and sometimes it can get a bit weird, I guess, and a little bit parasocial, and a little bit much. Um, like I'll meet someone, and suddenly they think we're like the best friends, and I'm like not seeing it the same way. Yeah, there's a bit of a balance there sometimes. Different expectations some people have.
And what do you think makes a friend? Like, what do you think? Like, at what point do you think someone is someone that you consider, like, maybe not just a friend, but I guess let's say like a close friend, someone that is like a trusted person, like in your inner circle type deal. Like, at what point does that happen for you?
Just someone that like respects me for who I am, and as a person, and like respects like the time I'm able to give them, and um I'm like usually if someone appreciates me in some ways, I'll appreciate them even more back. Um, it's really just mutual respect for each other, and just kind of knowing that they're friends with me, not just because I'm popular and all that. Because sometimes it's very easy to see through that. But it's also easy to know when people are actually honest about their friendships with me. And not all people have been as honest about that, and that's just something you have to deal with along the way, especially when you become popular, big content creator. It just comes with the territory. But my close friends are close friends because they just, they like me for who I am. Yeah, I mean, sounds cliche, I guess, but yeah. That's just kind of how it works out, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. All right, so I have a couple more questions for you. Where would you like to be? Not really in terms of a location, but in terms of your own like journey, your own career. Where would you like to be in 2 years?
Honestly, just hoping I can continue doing what I'm doing right now, really. I'm very content with my current position, and if it goes better, that's good. If I keep at the same pace I'm right now, perfect. I'm happy. I love that. If it goes a little bit down, honestly, still fine, because I'm still doing very good for myself. Like, I just kind of want to continue doing what I'm doing. I just, yeah, I'm very content where I am right now. So if I'm able to just continue that, I'm happy. I feel like, because I just really enjoy the work I do. I enjoy the friends I have. And for the most part, things are pretty good. So honestly, just don't necessarily expect much change. Don't necessarily want much change, honestly. So.
All right. Yeah. And if you can give any manner of advice about, it could be about anything we talked about, anything we didn't talk about. If you can give any manner of advice to people who are listening in, people who maybe want to be asset creators, maybe people who are interested in that sort of thing. And again, it doesn't have to be about being an asset creator. It can be something much more broad. What kind of advice, if you can give one piece of advice to people who are listening, what would that be?
So there's a lot of creators who look up to the stuff I do, and a lot of them are kind of like, see like, oh, I could never do the things you do, and I'm usually like, yes, you can do what I do. It I always learn new stuff every day. It's just like, do you just kind of start? You just gotta begin. Don't be afraid to learn a new skill, and start slow and then slowly ramp it up. You'll gain knowledge over time, and things will just start clicking, and you'll eventually just have the gears turning the correct way. And as a creator, you'll get there if you set your mind to it. And I really truly believe anyone can do the stuff I do if they just start learning. Because most of my learning really was just a trial and error, I guess. And if you have someone who can help you get started, even better. That's just a ramp to fly off of, and that's good. When I started, I didn't really have many people who could help me, which can be a rough start, but if you have someone who can help you, that's fantastic. But even if you don't, there's more resources nowadays, and use them if you can.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And last but not least, where can people find you? Where do you want people to look for you?
You can find my stuff on my Gumroad. If you just Google Lindy Gumroad, you'll find it. You can also find it on Jinxie. Usually it's $1 cheaper on Jinxie. If you want to follow the stuff I make and what I'm working on, you can follow my Twitter, Lindy VR, or just on my Discord server, which is linked everywhere on my store pages. If you want to ask me questions as well, I'm best reached through Discord as well, with the exact same name.
All right. And what are some things that we mentioned the transforming three-way sword that you're working on. Are you working on anything else that you'd like to share?
Not necessarily. The current big thing I really want to just show off as next thing is the scythe, transforming scythe I'm working on. The model is basically in the finishing stages. As soon as I get my hands on it, I want to work on it. I'm very excited to work on it. It looks like such a fun project. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm just really excited to work on something. Sometimes I'm working on a project and then I get an idea and then I'm like, I really want to work on that right now because that sounds so fun. But yeah, currently I can't wait to work on that project, so I'll show that off a lot.
All right. Hell yeah. That's really awesome. Looking forward to seeing more about that. And for those of you who may want to hear more about me, if you're watching this on Twitch, thanks for watching on Twitch. I appreciate that. If you're on Twitch right now, you can find me over at YouTube at Nepherti with one eye. And if you're watching this on YouTube, really appreciate you doing that. You can find me over at Twitch at Nepherti with two eyes, as well as on Twitter at Nepherti with two eyes. If you'd like more information about the podcast as a whole, if you'd like to know what guests are being on and information about when episodes are released, you can definitely check out the podcast Twitter at Sweet Talking Pod. That's a great way to keep tabs on that. And of course, if you are at all interested in supporting what it is that I do, if you enjoy the content that I make, you can absolutely go to patreon.com/Nepherti. I highly would suggest that you check that out. And if you'd like to support me in a more significant way, there are many exclusive rewards there, including the post conversation that Lindy and I will be having after we've wrapped up here. So if you'd like to see that conversation, you can check out my YouTube. Check out my YouTube for the podcast and check out the Patreon for those and all previous post conversations that I've had with previous guests that I've had on the podcast over at patreon.com/Nepherti. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this episode. I also want to thank Lindy for being my wonderful guest, for taking the time to be on with me this evening. It's super, super late where Lindy is right now, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join me and to chat with me. It really means a lot. And I really had a great time hearing more about what you do. And I have a couple more questions I am definitely kind of itching to ask you after we've kind of wrapped up here. So, but for now, I just kind of want to thank you for being on the podcast in general. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And if you guys would like to catch more of what if you're looking forward to seeing more of that, again, check out the Patreon. But for those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much for being a part of the audience for episode 59 of the Sweet Talking podcast with me, Lindy, and my guest, Nepherti. Wow, I had a brain fart right there. Sorry. Me, Nepherti. Sorry, I'm not Lindy. Lindy. Everyone, absolutely. Please go look at their products over at Gumroad and Jinxie. They're very, very talented. He's very, very good at what he does. I'm just always impressed with the assets that he manages to put out. And it's super, super interesting, super cool stuff. You definitely want to check that out if you haven't already. And of course, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support on what I do. And I hope you'll look forward to the next episode of the Sweet Talking podcast. And I hope you guys will tune in for that. But for now, thank you all so much for being here tonight. And I will see you all in the next episode. So until then, bye-bye. We're actually going to wave goodbye to everyone else. I know Lindy is pretty chilled out. But good night to everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.